Thank you to Riki and Kiki keeping us company over there before we got started. This is Giant Bomb. Is it still Summer Game Fest? I don't know anymore. It was Xbox Showcase today. We're just in Los Angeles. That's all it is. I'm Jeff Grubb. I'm hosting this mess along with Quack Aga here, who's been our most famous guest star this entire weekend. It's been fantastic. I'm joined by a crew of cool kids from GameSpot. I got the GameSpot crew here. I'm going to introduce everybody real quick, and then we'll get into it. Jessica Howard. We got Jean-Luc. We got not Mike Mahardy.
Oh, I get to be me?
Yeah, you get to be you.
Oh, all right, let's go.
Jacob Dekker, of course. And then we got Kurt Indovina. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Hey, you know what? Actually, let's start. I am so worried you're going to kick over that bottle of pineapple juice.
There's a bottle of pineapple juice?
Just right underneath your feet.
Right there.
Oh. This?
Whatever. Oh, it looked like
coffee.
It's
Cold
coffee.
brew.
Okay, well, never mind. Then put it back below your feet then. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Knock it over.
Hey, if I didn't know it was coffee.
If it was pineapple juice, watch out.
Yes,
Coffee,
exactly.
Knock it across the floor. Fuck it.
How you guys doing? How was the show for you? I mean, I've seen you guys working pretty much nonstop. It seems like it's been a lot, but I don't know. We're almost through it. How's it been going? I don't know. Jean-Luc, how you been doing?
That's been good, yeah. I mean, you say non-stop, but I feel like
Lots of stops.
I definitely just sat down for 2 hours. And
Is
played
it like
Street
hurry
Fighter
up and
today.
wait? A lot of hurry up and wait? Like, yeah?
Yeah.
Waiting for things to happen, waiting for people to show up, get back from their appointments, Jess
Yeah.
footage.
I mean, I've talked about this with Jan a lot, but we're very much used to the sort of we show up and it's okay, we have to set up everything and it's non-stop. And then come here and it's just there's a studio with lighting and the mics are set and the cameras are already here and I have nothing to do.
Yeah, how'd you feel about being set up in the fandom offices? It's been kind of nice to a certain extent. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
we're out of the way a little bit. That's maybe a little annoying, but it's been nice, right?
Yeah, totally. I feel like I should be over there right now where Jan is.
You'll be over there later tonight.
That's my
We're gonna need
safe.
your help.
That's my safe space.
Yeah.
In that awkward corner right there? Because he's
Yeah.
not even by the board.
It's like a shameful corner that Jan lives in.
Pressing
Yes.
buttons and turning knobs.
Yeah.
No, I
Corner
crawl
of
into
shame.
that little corner and then I just stick my hand up and I hit the button.
Yeah, there you
Sleep
go.
under the desk.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I demand you on the couch with me. That's what I need. We're down to just 2 batteries, Jean-Luc. We're almost through this. I don't know. How about you, Jacob? What's it been like?
It's been pretty good. I'm exhausted. I've been staying up too late.
Yeah.
Working hard, but it's not like E3. I'm used to, you have 12 appointments in a day, and then you are running around all day, bouncing around the show floor, get back, just write as much as you can, shoot as much as you can, and then drink as much as you can.
Yeah.
But he's been saying, there's been a lot of stopping and starting. I saw Cyberpunk earlier, embargo just lifted. That was really cool. But I actually had
Read the preview.
Yeah,
Read the preview.
Yeah, read the preview. But I actually had time to write that how I wanted to,
Yeah,
as opposed to just here's what I saw.
Right, that's abnormal for E3 for people that don't know. You got to pick one thing from a game that you just saw, write about it,
Yep.
200, 300 words, maybe as quickly as possible, and then move on to the next 5 things. I guess so. I mean, when you come out here, you feel like you got your time's worth or whatever. When you're out here, did you get enough work done or whatever?
Oh yeah, I mean I still got a ton done, but yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Still a lot of drinking.
Yes.
Still a lot of
Speaking
drinking.
of Kurt, can I,
Oh, Jesus Louise.
Oh, Kurt's
the
the
resident
keeper of the
bartender.
Jameson here.
Ew.
One thing I appreciate about Summer Games Fest though is that when we walked around the Playdays area, people everyone you see.
Yes.
E3, it's a lot of there's a lot of retailers and people in suits, people who look important, people who pretend to be important, people who are important that I don't know. And there it's I walk out of an appointment, it's just a bunch of colleagues.
It really feels like a show for us, which is,
Yeah.
I suppose that's really nice. I've really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
The games themselves, though, I mean, Kurt, what have you seen that's really been exciting?
I've seen a few games, but there's really only one game that has consumed
I'm
every moment of my
talked about
existence
Crew 2, right?
here.
Yeah.
The
That's
Crew
the one.
Motorfest, Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Yeah, let's go.
But not to shame those games, but
Tell me about Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Get over it.
I can tell you're ready to explode about it.
I mean,
I'm
first and
interested.
foremost, it's I just want to say this is I went to one event in person, which was E3, and I've been to GDC twice now. But before I jump into the Alan Wake beauty and things, I just want to say that it's been really beautiful being able to be in the presence of people and like see Jess and hang out with Jess. And be, like I see Jean-Luc all the time, but it's a different vibe to be able to be with Jean-Luc.
Be able to touch him in the face.
And with Jake.
And get HR called on you.
And take Ubers and exist in a space in which
Take Ubers, yeah.
Take Ubers.
It's just an highlight for me.
So many Ubers. I was in an Uber yesterday with a man named Elvis.
Ooh.
And what do you call this little
Stick shift.
Well, it wasn't a stick shift.
Stick slider. Yeah, stick shift.
Stick slider.
Stick slider. Yeah.
We're
was,
gamers.
Was the head of a skull.
Okay. Do you think it was a real skull?
It must have been the tiniest man, tiniest freak of a little creature man.
It was a little freak. Yeah, it was
little
one of our
freak.
little freak skulls that we keep around here.
And that's been nice. That's it. So, Elvis, if you're out there, thank you for last minute choosing to go to the other address that I had mistakenly put in. I put in the wrong address.
For taking a chance on a tall man.
Yeah.
Elvis has always wanted to do that. That's the best thing about Elvis. Absolutely.
Yes, but to answer, now that we've talked about not Alan Wake 2 is I've written a preview. I've done video impressions.
Is it up? Is it the preview?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So people can find it?
Yes,
Okay,
it can be found. The written version was today, and the video impressions was yesterday because I go sit greasy in front of a camera and rant about it. But that is hands down, unquestionably, by not only the best thing I saw in the show, but like is easily the most anticipated thing I'm going to see this year.
Yeah, we've been like talking about it here and there throughout the weekend, and the thing that you mentioned, because I didn't get to see it, was the detective stuff.
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm very interested in games that are going down that route. How elaborate is it, and if it's like, it seems like it's somewhat limited, but is it enough to like get you excited? 'Cause I know you're someone like Shadows of Doubt, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like the
This
thing,
is not that.
No,
Yeah.
but it's like not quite.
No.
Not at all. But I mean, but there's breaths of it there. The thing is with this game, the thing that I'm so excited about is that, and I've had this conversation, I think, with most of these dudes, is that I feel like the detective mystery genre has had great games, but seldom on a AAA scale. Like the one that always comes to mind, one of the only ones that comes to mind is LA Noire. And in that case, though, you're still just gathering evidence for basically a list that you just go to use to interrogate someone. Like that's the core mechanic. The thing that makes Alan Wake 2 is so compelling is that like they aren't pulling punches on being a detective survival horror. It is all equally those things. It is quite literally a trifecta of them. So like when you have to be a detective in order to progress the story.
Right.
So you go as Saga Anderson. We still haven't seen Alan Wake's side of it, but as Saga Anderson, you have to collect evidence. And in order to progress, you have to go into her mind place, which is like an actual physical place, a mental construct that she enters.
It's in Pittsburgh, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yes, perfect.
Yeah.
But you actually have to physically put evidence on a board and match it in such a way that it actually has like the supernatural presence that manifests things from the dark place into reality that allows you as a player to progress. So you are like solving it with her, really. Because I did ask, as a detective boy, if there was like some sort of
Please, boy detective.
boy detective.
Good answer.
Yeah, boy detective. Thank you.
Boy detective.
If there was like, if you had played the game already, if you could like cut corners with the knowledge you already have, but they were like, no, it's deliberate and such. Like in some places, yes, they said, but in most cases, like the whole point is that there is a supernatural tie to it. That it's like Saga is bringing it into reality by investigating and solving kind of like these miniature puzzles in a way.
So that makes me wonder. So like, clearly they're probably not going to make it so that, like you said, just cut corners. But I wonder if you could still do that yourself, right? Try, like, imagine cutting corners. And so then when the thing actually happens, some people might read that almost as a spoiler. Like, all these things gave it away. But it might actually make you feel like more connected to the events, right? Do you think that's probably how it's going to go down?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know Jess was able to get some insight, too.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead. Like,
Oh, no. So I when we saw it, there was somebody in the audience who asked the question of, like, when you're arranging the evidence, like, can you place it anywhere and see these connections, or like make connections and then move a piece of evidence and, you know, do something else? And they said that they spent 18 months trying to make that work, and unfortunately the only way that they could go about it was making it to where it kind of helps you in a sense, but like you still have to do a lot of the lifting yourself, so it still makes you feel smart.
But all I know is that like the big thing, and I think this is like where like I'm so impressed with a big AAA or a big high budget game, is that they're not limiting it's just so good to play a detective game where like your evidence board isn't just a menu screen.
Yeah.
Like you are actually in a space you have to like physically go to, at like obviously click on a wall, and I guess you could make the argument that is a menu.
Are you like moving the pieces of evidence?
Yeah,
by
you
yourself?
have to like you have the evidence
making
pieces.
string them
together?
yourself?
Yes. Yeah. So
Ooh,
you
so
like
that's enough for me. Right there,
you'll have like you'll collect like manuscript pages, pictures, and like evidence as you would at any crime scene, and then you would go into the mind place and then organize it yourself and connect those dots until you get it right.
A cool thing about it too is then after you do that, and once you have new clues that kind of open up, like, well, I didn't think about this before, you can go back to interviews that you did with like certain suspects or people.
She's a
that are-
profiler.
like
so
the
you get some
profiling.
heads,
Yeah.
You know, that's where like the Mindhunter sort of like influence kind of comes into
Yeah,
it.
and so you can like review these interviews that you already did, and kind of, you know, with the new knowledge that you have, and it makes it to where, you know, you solve the cases that way too. It's really cool. It honestly, and it has like a very like, I don't know, like David Fincher's Seven vibe to it. Like
yeah.
the whole thing did to
It
me.
is-
It's so cool.
It's like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
David Fincher, so like Mindhunter 7, but it's gonna have like, they keep saying Coen Brothers specifically, which I really appreciate. So
Sure.
it has that like, you know, it's probably undertone dark
Right.
Americana quirkiness.
It's something that's inspired that whole
Yes.
genre by
Yes.
this point so many times over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, all at the same time, it's a survival horror
Yeah.
game like that requires like exploration, resource management, like puzzle solving. Like in order to get like, there's a shotgun that we saw that was like locked behind a case, and like you have to get like a clue that will then like help you do it. And I was like, this is the most Resident Evil shit that is like whispering beautiful things in my ear. And we haven't even fucking seen Alan Wake gameplay yet.
Yeah.
So hear me out.
I'm hearing,
think
I'm listening.
For Alan Wake's side of the story, how you progress it, you have to write a novel.
In real time.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in
You
actual
just, you
novel,
just have to
and
write a
actually
novel,
the
and like,
novel.
you know, as pages go, then happen.
Novel-based gameplay, absolutely.
Yeah, you know,
It's
like-
they're going to sell an Alan Wake 2 controller, and it's going to be that big
The
GameCube
keyboard?
keyboard
Yeah.
controller.
All I know is that Shadows of Doubt is a fantastic game that exists.
Ooh, that's a
and
good
if that
game.
game exists, I believe.
Yeah,
that game
you know what? Shadows of Doubt is a game that makes me believe as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's a game that won't exist really in my lifetime, probably. It's way too much. And they'll make it voxels and then just like step back and like, what do we really need to make a genre of a detective game work? The Shadows of Doubt is all of those things.
Yes.
It's so impressive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Jess, for you, you're out there writing nonstop.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to sort of enjoy? These guys are out drinking and partying. You going out? and doing
No,
anything?
gosh, no. I've been drinking too.
All
Don't
right.
worry.
Drinking
don't
while I'm
worry.
writing.
Yeah, drinking and writing at the same
All
time.
my previews.
How else does
half in the
writing
bottle.
happen? Yeah.
Thank you to all my editors. No, I've seen so many games. Oh my gosh, I feel like I focused a lot on seeing a lot of like the indie games that were all kind of more concentrated to one area. So I was just like the person who was constantly hitting up all of these developers. So I'm so sorry if you're one of them. I think that the one that maybe stands out the most to me was Cocoon.
Yes.
You actually, you were there.
That's
You,
a good one, yeah.
you watched it. And yeah, it's very like Hyper Light Drifter without the combat.
Sure.
And it's more puzzle based, but yeah, it's kind of like an isometric, just very very artsy. The music is super like synthy and bassy, and I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It's something that I didn't know anything about going into the show, and I started playing it, and I was like, "This is my shit."
Everyone who I've talked to about that game is talking up at the same
Yeah.
exact way.
I've had someone say that was like their sleeper hit, and
Yeah.
then you played it,
Yeah.
and you played it, and I've like heard it like kind of whispers in the corners. So
Yeah, I in that same area I was playing another Crab's Treasure. Did you guys see that one? That's
Oh,
the,
right.
the
Yeah.
Crab Dark Souls sort of riff off, and it's like really well done. It's super cute, and yet they have a lot of ideas about, okay, you are playing as a crab in the ocean, and so like their currency is microplastics, and your shells that you can get are going to be like thrown out cans and Coke cans and bottle caps and stuff like that, and it's they all have their own abilities, each of these pieces of litter, but it's like the game like puts the litter sort of and the pollution off in the periphery a little bit, and then you're just actually just trying to survive against other bigger crab enemies, and it's really well done. It's really good stuff. They really nailed that combat of parrying and dodging, and honestly, if you got parrying and dodging, I'm going to be into it these days. So it's a really fun game. But for me, it's like a lot of other stuff that at this point we still can't talk about everything yet. It's kind of frustrating.
I'm like
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
through
I know.
everything that I saw, and I was like, the main thing I can talk about is Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that Cyberpunk presentation today was pretty impressive. You can talk about it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like we said, the preview's up. John Luke actually saw it too.
Yeah.
We were in the same room. We got to ask a ton of questions. I think some questions that they weren't supposed to answer. Some they didn't. Some we got some good info from.
Got some stuff.
But I think the most impressive thing that both of us kind of walked away from was that this is rewriting the DNA of that game, essentially. They are redoing the skill trees. They are redoing the cybernetics. They are redoing how the police work. The police system is much better now. They're much more responsive.
Right. That was a
they
big
feel
thing for
more
me.
real. Yeah, a lot
so
of people.
inert and kind of broke the illusion of the game for me in a major way.
Yeah, so they've redone that. They've even got to the point, or they said if you get 5 stars, bosses will start to spawn max tac, which is that they're like the SWAT, I guess, of the
Yeah.
cyberpunk universe. They'll show up and they're supposed to be really deadly. But yeah, like a lot of the mechanics underlying this game have just been rewritten and changed. And then of course you've got the DLC too, which looks cool. What we saw seemed pretty cool. I won't get into too much story stuff just in case people want to go in fresh. But yeah, I was really impressed. I'm excited to see more. I don't know, what stood out to you? Because there's a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a packed demo. I mean, kind of like you said, like that trailer they showed at Xbox is like that gives you a sense of like what the main story is, but like really it is like the under the hood stuff that I think will probably impress people the most. And I think a lot of that is supposed to actually be updated for free, so it's not like, you know,
Right, this Phantom Liberty is paid, right?
the Phantom Liberty is paid,
But there's
right?
there's an update to go alongside it.
Yes. And
yeah.
I think they said they're still determining to what degree, how much of it can be in Phantom Liberty versus like a free update, but they ideally would like as much of that as possible to be free. Like I'm pretty sure
What was the
police
release
stuff will
date
be there.
on Phantom Liberty again? It was
September
26?
26?
Or 26?
September, so packed.
September,
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a little bit of time, not a ton of time, but they have a little bit of time to determine that stuff.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, I thought the coolest thing was they straight up added car combat to this game now, which is cool. Like obviously, like so the example they showed was like a car, like a James Bond style car, because the whole thing is like spy themed, and it just has like these
Classic
little,
Aston Martin,
Yeah.
basically put into this game.
with a bunch of like turrets on the front that you can just like cause mayhem and shoot.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you can also like GTA style, just like, you know, get out of the side of the window and like shoot your gun. Or the example they showed us was you can pull your katana out while you're on your bike.
Whoa,
Which-
okay.
Perfect.
I have no idea how useful that will actually be.
Yeah, but you're gonna
But
look
it
really
doesn't
cool.
matter.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah.
It reminds me
Smart
of
work.
like the Final Fantasy VII when you're on the bike and you just have like the bat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just dragging it along.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sparks are
yes.
flying,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
amazing.
all right, everywhere I go in that game, I'm just gonna whip out the katana
Yep.
and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
drive around, and then people are gonna shoot at me because they think I'm a crazy person.
They're gonna shoot at you because you're too cool.
'Cause I'm
Like,
too
I
cool.
can't handle it.
And the new city's called Dogtown.
Dogtown.
That's the
Dogtown.
name of a hot dog joint in my home city.
Great.
That like is very intimate to me. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it
Seriously.
as seriously. Where
fine.
it's a place where I used to get Rochester garbage plates and hang out in Dogtown with Idris Elba
Yeah.
in the cyberpunk world.
Were you a
Idris
lord?
loves Dogtown.
A
Sorry.
lord of fucking content.
Do you think with Cyberpunk that this update, this patch, and then the new content is going to be sort of the way that Cyberpunk is remembered, in the same way that like Witcher 3 is now remembered as Blood and Wine and all that stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the people who played Cyberpunk and enjoyed it, but were kind of hoping for more, I think this will probably satisfy them. But I think the difference with The Witcher 3 is like The Witcher 3 was buggy, but I think generally it was a really good game that everyone
And
agreed
for as
on.
popular as it wasn't like immediately as popular, played as widely as Cyberpunk was.
Yeah,
Everyone played
yeah,
Cyberpunk
yeah.
right away, and Witcher 3 was huge, but it had a build up after
Yeah,
that as
there's,
well.
there's a curve to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I think Cyberpunk burned a lot of people. I don't know if everyone's going to be quite ready to jump
Sure.
in.
Yeah.
But like I think it's very good, and I think what I've seen definitely feels like what they were hoping for, or what they kind of intended, even with a lot of these systems. Like the cybernetics, which we talked about briefly, they're kind of like the more cybernetics you kind of get debuffs, and it's supposed to simulate that cyberpsychosis, which is something that's big in the lore, big in the world, but you never really had that punishment for just loading yourself up with these cybernetics. So
Right.
they didn't give details on how that affects the player, but it seems like it could be pretty interesting.
Jean-Luc, I got a bone to pick with you.
Okay. What?
How dare you mock me like this? I had to cut my hair because I lost a bet with myself, and you come in with this glorious mane, looking just amazing.
Thank
How
you.
dare you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That has been the reoccurring like theme of my entire week. Is just people complimenting my hair, which is very nice.
Yeah,
have
for me,
amazing hair.
it was an act of laziness, an act of extreme laziness. I just grew it out. It just happened. How are you doing? You wake up, you got to blow dry it every morning?
No. You can't blow dry it.
Yes.
That'll ruin it.
It will,
No,
yes,
you have
go
to air
crazy,
dry
huh?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very thick.
It's the Kurt Russell
Yeah.
80s
It is.
Escape from New York.
It is.
I know.
That's
I gotta
actually-
ditch the
Put
glasses
an
and
eye
get the eye
patch.
patch on.
Yeah.
It's like, man,
It does the same thing as glasses.
You
It should be
really
fine.
could do like a killer Snake cosplay right now.
I could.
Yeah.
So at one point I had it a little bit shorter, and it was like a good Otacon cosplay. But
Mm.
now
Sure.
it's like full on, like like Snake Plissken. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're Koi Pliskin time.
Oh yeah. What's the plan? Is it just it's gonna get longer?
I don't know if I want to go longer than this, but I'm gonna keep it like as is for a little bit. Kind of, I don't know, mess around with it. Yeah.
Sure. Jake, you edit a podcast with just a real asshole named Dan Reichert.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Mike. But
Mike, oh, of course.
also
That goes
thought
without
you were
saying.
talking
Yeah,
about
two
Mike.
assholes. Excuse me. How'd you get start working with them and on that? What's that been like?
I mean, I met Mike at GameSpot, and
Uh-huh.
then we good friends, stayed in touch, and then they started doing Firescape. And then when they started their Patreon, they were like, "Oh, we want to find an editor." So I jumped on, helped them, edit week to week. It's pretty good. I learn a lot more about Dan than I ever thought I'd learn, for better or worse.
Sure.
Well, that's I've heard Mike, say weird shit like
Uh-huh.
that all the time. So to be expected. But yeah, it's a good podcast. I recommend people listen to it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Cool Judge Jake.
Cool Judge Jake.
Yes,
yeah.
that was one of my favorite Game of the Year podcast segment things. That ever
Yeah, I
happened.
think
It's good stuff.
the highlight for me last year was using my power to have Dan get me a beer.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
a good thing. You should do it right now. Absolutely. Yeah.
Dan, beer.
There he goes.
No music, but
Yeah. Yes, Judge. Kurt, you launched a new show. How's it been going?
The Kurt Locker.
The Kurt Locker.
Yes, I have a show. I mean, these two fellas have a show too.
Yeah,
so
we'll get back to that.
we'll get back to that.
I wanted to talk to Kurt right
There's
now.
a part of me that just has to be like, I love the people, the work. I don't like talking about myself entirely, despite having a show with my name in it, and being the sole focus of my show.
body language. It's lying.
Yeah.
You think so?
No, I'm just bringing it back.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you.
There it is.
Yeah.
The
Thank you.
goblin should be
Thank you,
gone.
Studio Monkey.
It really is actually funny that the show has your name in it, and you are like genuinely the most humble person I know.
Well,
I mean, it happened like
Yeah.
it's too perfect of a name, right?
Yes.
That is how it happened, right, Kurt? It's like.
But I didn't come up with it. So like,
No,
it's-
someone just said it out loud. I'm like, well, we have to use that.
It was-
I bet
yeah.
you were like, oh, we'll come up with some other stuff, and then everyone's like, fuck you.
We
no, we're using
did.
Kurt
And
Locker.
we tried, and so Chris Morris, who's basically my partner in crime. He's 50% of the show. He's the one who produces it. He's the one who edits it. He's the one who gives me emotional stability, and he was the one who came up with the show and the title of the show. But we were like, sounds like a great name. It's so funny, but we didn't ever expect it to actually be called that. But when we went through the pitch meetings, and they were just like, no, that's what it's being called. I was like, are we really launching a show called The Kurt Locker? And there was a part of me that was like kind of doubtful about it, but then I like tried to put myself in the position of like someone, a cigar smoking executive who's just like trying to look through it, and then I could imagine be like, what's the Kurt Locker? I'm like, that's an interesting name. I know a movie called The Hurt Locker, and
Yep.
I'm like, yes, it's nothing like that.
You're just trying to get that Hurt Locker SEO juice.
It's great.
out,
It's
yeah.
the if you
Yeah, the typo juice. Yeah, when
Somebody
people-
types
Kurt
in.
Locker. Oh, shit. What's
that
this?
was exactly our intentions, and it's funny because the show is the absolute opposite of what you would think a show based off the Kurt Hurt Locker name is. It's not. It's meant to be like a very introspective, positive take on your individual relationship with the medium of
What's
games.
the production been like? What's like? You guys have a pretty regular schedule. What's
Yeah,
it like coming up with ideas and executing on them?
I mean, we are in. I mean, it's not as I think there's a misconception that the show takes a lot more time to make than it actually does, because in most cases, it's I'm of in a position where it's like I get a topic, say like talking about 6 out of 10 games, which is like an episode that was really important to me, like in defense of 6 out of 10 games. And that for me was like, oh, that is all I play unintentionally. It's not on purpose. It just so happens to be that the games I think are interesting are 6 out of 10 games. So I mean, it really we were very deliberate in trying to be like, we don't want this over scripted. We want this to be natural, but we still want it to have this this sort of like keep throwing like kinetic, which is a very Kurt style of how I film and how I shoot things. So I'll show up, I'll turn the camera on, I'll wave my hands around, I'll rant a bunch, and then I'll change the angle and I'll rant a bunch and wave my hands around, and then we'll have a cool montage of a bunch of shit being thrown at the camera, and then Chris Morris turns into something that's
like legible. Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So it's just I started on YouTube before GameSpot doing a weekly video of the same kind of nature. So it's just natural. It's a return to form. It's.
How are you feeling about the state of 6 out of 10 games? I think that it's. I mean, in SGF, like right now, from what as we see them today, like from a big showcase where it's like we see all these games coming out. Like, do you think that we could have a 6 out of 10 game ever show up in the Xbox showcase today?
I mean, you never know. I mean, it's like any of those games we see could come out to be one of them, two of them. Could
Right,
be
but then will they? They obviously wouldn't be considered a success, right? Or is that not the case?
I mean, this is where like the show is more focused on like what you care about and like what you seek and value of your experience with a game, because that video came from me loving the game Wanted Dead that came out earlier this year,
Right.
and like I think that to me is like this trophy sort of 6 out of 10 experience that's like it's wonky, it's fucking rough on paper, it is a bad game, but it does so many things in such a way that simply is not attempted in other games that makes it interesting, and like not just like it's interesting because it's different, but like no, it's like
Right.
you don't get to see these things done in big budget AAA games as often. So I do believe there are 6 out of 10 games that were shown in this. We just don't know it yet.
Right, and probably games that will be widely considered 6 out of 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe the better way, or maybe the angle is that like we don't see enough like AA games.
Yeah.
And not saying that double games are 6 out of 10. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like, there's a certain sort of like there's a certain sort of budget game, I guess.
Well,
You don't get to see.
Really, the impetus of like asking about that is I'm still thinking about this Prince of Persia reaction.
Yes,
I don't know if
yes.
you guys have
Oh,
seen
yeah.
this. Where that Prince of Persia game got shown off at, I don't know, it must have been Summer Game Fest. And it's a 2D game, and I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, me too.
And then we go and look at YouTube, and it's 5,000 upvotes and 12,000 downvotes.
That's wild.
I think
that is wild.
To me, I'm like, it's kind of scummy of gamers to be that way.
It's
you gotta
crazy.
Get over. This is crazy. But if that's happening, that's got to be so discouraging to game developers, because I bet a lot of people would love to make a 2D game. We're not going to get money now. Look at the reaction. I mean, are you guys worried about that?
I mean, well, especially like Ubisoft specifically, because like their whole thing is like they've been very formulaic for a very long time, and it's I think a lot of people have been like, hey, could you try something different?
Right.
And here they are making something different, and then everyone's like, oh, but we don't want this, and I'm like. Guys,
but not even
they're
like
making something new.
But it's not even so much different. It feels like a natural evolution of what Prince of Persia was at some point. So I don't. That's why I'm so confused.
It feels like it's a bringing together of everything. It's been the cinematic platformer, the cool action 3D platformer, and now it's like it seems like they're putting it all into one thing. It's an evolution. It's just like they were like we can side a little bit more on it being a little bit more of a budget, and I think that's very exciting that a big publisher would decide to do that. I'm very, very frustrated with gaming fans being like, our knee-jerk reaction is not this.
I also think like trailers are just like the worst way to get a sense of it.
A lot of times, yes, especially for a game like that.
I feel like I go into a movie and they like they play like 20 billion trailers before a film. I feel like I hate every trailer they show. I'm just like, wow, that looks bad, that looks bad, that looks bad. And then I like actually see the movie and I like it, and it is like I think I like me personally, I am like conditioned to hate trailers for things, like weirdly enough. So like I try and like not be cynical. Perfect example, Foam Stars. When that got announced on PlayStation, I was like being the like cool cynical guy, like it was Splatoon at home.
Sure.
Like,
it's very easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
And then I actually played it.
Hold on. Can you talk about that?
Embargoes.
Yeah. I think I can.
Okay. I don't know.
Right?
I'm just making sure.
Oh, no.
You want to check?
Do you want to check? You want to
I'll
check for
check.
me? Okay. Well, anyway.
This is what it's like whenever we have conversations.
It's
in
very,
public, like,
it's actually
wait,
very
wait.
annoying. Yeah,
No,
right.
I
So it's like
appreciate
again, there's like
you.
5
Anyway,
things.
Kurt's
making
gonna,
sure, I
yeah,
don't
no,
know.
Kurt's gonna check. I'm pretty sure.
We'll keep moving along.
Yeah.
We'll move along. Anyway,
wait.
point is, that was a thing that I had a negative reaction to initially, but like that's not fair. That's not fair to that game.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't actually play the game. It wasn't even a trailer of the actual gameplay. It was just like a CG concept.
We've definitely had
trailer.
people talk about Foam Stars on this couch while a Square Enix person was here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Then we'll
I
move
think
on.
we're
Okay, then cool.
I think we're okay.
We'll move
And if
on.
not,
All
then
right.
I just gave permission. You can get mad at me. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that it's got to be a tough space to try to sell gamers on ideas that are a little bit different.
Yeah.
It seems scarier than ever. And I
Unless
mean,
you're Nintendo fans, apparently. I don't know if you saw that. Like, apparently, like, the Nintendo trailer was the only one that didn't have.
Oh,
for Prince of
negative
Persia?
downloads.
yeah, it
Prince
didn't
of
have a
Persia.
complete inverted ratio. It did,
Yeah.
there was still an abnormal amount of dislikes, but there were still more likes on it than dislikes, I think.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
but most of the Nintendo fans were like, yeah, 2D Metroidvania, I'm down.
yeah.
It's like kind of this unfortunate thing where we receive so much information online and through trailers and sizzle reels that it's like human nature, right, to want to categorize or lump things together, or this is something I know, this is something that I don't know.
It's part of the
And when-
FOMO, right? Like, what if it's something I would like? Well, I'm going to latch on the things I don't like about it
Yeah.
immediately, so I don't even have to start wasting brain energy on
Yes,
it, right?
exactly. It's like kind of that like rapid decision making, and it's not. It sucks because it does make us, make these calls before we really know a lot about certain
Yeah,
things.
I'm definitely guilty of that. Absolutely.
Oh, everybody does.
Yeah.
It's just like it's that decision fatigue. It's so easy to kind of like mentally be like, don't care about that one. Okay, that's totally a me thing. Don't care about that. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because it does stifle creativity, and that's why like Kurt talking about the 6 out of 10 games, and it's not just because it's different. It's because these are games that they do something. They're not afraid to like fail or stumble or not do something perfectly. They just have this idea and they want to go for it. And it's really admirable, and unfortunately, a lot of times that's not always rewarded.
But it's like it always comes back down to like the very simple thing of like judging a game for what it is rather than what it isn't. Like you're like the expectation of what you want versus what it actually is, and like your ability to like just embrace something.
And then you say ability, but it's a skill, right?
Yeah.
It really,
Yes.
a skill is
Yes.
a skill to
Yes.
enjoy something on its own terms, because it's very easy. The natural thing is to entertain me. I spent money. Come to me and entertain me. Meeting something halfway, I think, is something. It requires media literacy. It requires having enough experience with the medium that you feel comfortable taking risks on new things. These are maybe the benefits of Game Pass, and we'll talk about that a million times. But I guess I'm more interested in, like, just as someone who writes about games, do you feel a responsibility to sort of be a mediator ever between gamers and people who make video games, to say we got to understand each other better?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, honestly, that's a lot of how I feel, because I mean, if I am not trying to understand the people who are reading what I'm writing, and if I'm not trying to understand the people who are creating the things that I'm writing about, like, I feel I'm not doing my job. Like that's part of what this is. It's looking at the cultural context of things and looking at the context that these creators have.
Right.
And that doesn't it's not me looking and saying, oh well, I don't think the public will like this, so I'm going to give it a low score, or they worked really really hard on this, so I'm going to give it a high score. But it is just considering all factors, and trying to do my best to be kind and honest about how I feel about things.
Yeah. How about you guys? When you guys are out there on the show floor, is that something that occurs to you, or it's like, I don't know, I see enough games where sometimes I could definitely fall back to that trap of, I don't know if this is for me, which is like, is that useful to anybody else?
Well,
if I ever say, this isn't for me, is that ever useful to say? I don't know.
I actually had a perfect example of this, which is Sonic, the new Sonic game.
Yeah, Sonic Superstars.
Sonic Superstars.
Yeah. Made by Arzest, the creators of Balan Wonderworld.
Yep.
Wow,
So
that's great.
I have realized this about myself, that I have like tricked myself into thinking I like 2D Sonic more than I actually like 2D Sonic.
Hey, part of that whole generation. Don't worry, that trick wasn't just you. Don't worry.
And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I really, really liked Sonic Mania, like a lot. And
Sonic
I was like,
Mania's
yeah,
very
like 2D Sonic, like fuck yeah. And then I played Superstars and I saw it and I was like, oh, this looks great. And I played it and I was like, oh yeah, like I forgot this about Sonic bothers me, and like the way the camera's so close, and like the way you're, like the momentum like stops you. And
Yeah, you know what I don't like about Sonic? You just said right there, like there will be like 3 levels of platforms, and there'll be bump, 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 and then you'll have Sonic jump, and the arc of his jump will just be like put him right there in the corner of one of those things, and then you stop completely. I'm like, how do I get him to just do the perfect bump, 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 jump up these platforms?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And you either just have to like go like figure it out, or you have to like give up and go down like the
Hot
learning
Sonic
path.
reviews here on Giant Bomb. We're
I'm
going all the way
so-
back to the 90s.
But my point is like that's fine because like there are people who love like 2D Sonic games, and I like and I think those people will absolutely love Sonic Superstars because I think it is doing like 2D Sonic right. It's just more me realizing, oh, this is not for me, and so like, do I actually need to say that? Like, is it actually valuable for me to get on and be like, well, I think I don't like
what is
this,
more
but it's also
valuable
like
there,
that doesn't matter. Like, this isn't for me, so like it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just like the important thing too with having like diverse newsrooms, right? And like people who like different things, and also, you know, for readers to hopefully understand, this is something that I always, you know, hope that people who read the site get is like, you know, nothing is completely objective. Like when something is reviewed, it is a subjective review based off of, you know, the things that the person who is reviewing is interested in or doesn't like, or, you know, we're all impacted by the media that we grew up with. So, you know, like that's why if you have 10 people who regularly do reviews, you can kind of pick a person who, you know, you're like, I tend to agree with this person, I tend to align with their viewpoints, like I'm going to hear what other people have to say, but like that's who I probably will side with, you know? That's who knows what I, as a consumer, am looking to buy.
Sure.
I also feel like we have beats, you know, like,
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
that's like, you know, there's a certain point in time when like all of us on this sofa have like the very specific things that like we have an intimate understanding of like of what that is. Like for me, it is survival horror and detective games,
Right.
so that's why Alan Wake is the thing that I'm covering because I understand those genres. Like Jake is like the CD Projekt Red dude, and I know that's like a blanket statement for an entire developer, but like
Sure.
they make
yeah.
RPGs of a certain kind that like so when I want to hear about when I want to hear someone's opinion, whether they can be that mediator between the audience and like, you know, us and the developers of the game itself, and I want to know about CD Projekt Red, that's the dude I want to hear from. Like these two guys, and like they're so it's like yeah,
Absolutely. Jess, I'm a gaming daddy. You're a gaming mommy.
Yeah. Just a couple of daddies and mommies.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. We're making it happen. I'm here. I'm really missing my kids. I wonder. I mean, it's fine for me. It's working. The people make space for me. They're happy to like have me in there. Do you feel like there's a space in gaming for people who are moms? It seems like it might be a little bit more hostile or a little bit less understanding. I don't know.
It's interesting and complex subject. I think that it depends because I can't give an answer and be like, oh, well, this is my experience, so this is how it is for women because like I'm very, very lucky. You know, I work with, like, I think I was telling you this, we were in an Uber earlier, and I found out that I was pregnant while I was in the interview process for GameSpot.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, oh God, am I going to have to choose between, like, my career and, like, properly raising a child?
Right. And did it ever occur to you like that it would be illegal for them to discriminate you, or do you think like that? What is that going to do?
It's one of those things like, well, it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be messed up, but like also messed up things happen to people all the time that are illegal, and like that's discrimination, and it's really hard to like do anything about that. So I mean, I am very lucky in that, you know, Timur, who I interviewed with, followed me on Twitter, right, and he saw that I announced that I was pregnant, and when I had my very first interview with him, the first thing he said before, like, hey, you know, I'm the manager, was, hey, oh my gosh, like, how are you? How's the baby? How has life been? Are you feeling okay? Like, is this a good, like, that's the type of person he is, you know, and so, like, that's the reception that I've had at GameSpot, is it's just a lot of people who genuinely care about my well-being. Everybody always is so understanding of, like, if I feel like I'm, you know, I don't know, like I can't extend myself as much as maybe people who don't have children can.
Right.
Nobody's ever made me feel bad about that. No one's ever made me feel like I'm lesser or I can't do things. You know, it's hard because it does impact how much you can do, right? And it there's things that, you know, in ways like you do have to pick and choose at times.
Sure.
And I think ways that probably men who are parents in the industry might not have to as
Not
much.
always, yeah.
Because I think that when you're a mom, you're kind of, whether you like it or not, you're the default parent. If your kid gets sick at school, who do you call? You call their mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so a lot of times if Andrew has to go into work, he has to go into work, and it's okay because I can stay and I can take care of it. So you know, like those are one of the things where it's hard, and you do kind of have to sacrifice some things. But he's also the coolest kid in the entire world, so it's super worth it.
Do you think it's a matter of education, awareness, that like someone like in Tam's position was just like, of course, this is totally normal?
Yeah,
Tam's also the nicest
I was
guy.
gonna say, he's also-
I think it might be a Tam thing. Is what I'm.
Yeah. I mean, I also, it's just like, I think too, it's like when you're somebody who has gone through your own struggles, which I know Tam has also, is with, you know, just various things and in his position, like, you get it when other people are going through similar things.
I think so.
And you understand, like, everybody has their own struggles. Everybody has their own things that they're working through, or things that maybe the world will try to label as like a weakness or something that makes it harder for them to do what's expected of them. And, you know, I don't know, if you can treat those people with kindness and grace and patience, like, everybody can kind of, you know, shine. Like, you give people the opportunity, and it makes a big difference. And he's always been that type of person.
Yeah. But you guys ever think about like what it's like to like grow older, start families, change your life situation in the video game industry?
Well, I like to think of myself as a gaming daddy too.
Well,
Yeah.
I
don't have any
please,
kids,
gaming zaddy, please.
but, you
Yeah.
know.
We don't even have pets.
I don't even have pets.
I have two
But
cats.
he has a lot of Pokemon.
A lot
like-
of
I have
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's not talk about that though.
No.
But I mean, are you guys like think about the future in that way ever? Like I know that for me it was always bust my butt thinking about work, trying to get to where I want to go, and then at the same time, oh my God, my family's just happening. It is just happening over here. I gotta reconcile these two things, and it was tough, but I just did what I had to do. If I had sat down and thought about it, it would have terrified me. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that something you guys ever think about?
I mean, as of late, yeah, I've been thinking about the future a lot, and not probably for the best reasons. It's like this last year in particular, we saw all these websites shut down. We saw a bunch of layoffs.
Yeah.
Not to get too deep into
No,
it, but
it's
but
happening.
like, yeah, it's kind of scary. I've moved back to San Francisco. It's very expensive, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know how things, it's just
Right.
it's so unpredictable. The landscape is always changing. Things are happening. I mean, even like I started at GameSpot in 2015, and like it is completely different. The videos we make are different because YouTube evolves, changes, like what people want changes, the industry changes, and like I don't know, it's scary. Can't think too much about the future, but it's hard not to. Yeah.
I want to thank you guys. It's been nice just having you around all weekend, looking out there, and again, seeing you work. It's just been really nice. Like, man, they're just doing it. They're making it happen.
It's been great seeing you work.
Yeah.
I never had
You
like this is
are,
like this is one of the reasons why I was saying that this is like a moment in time where I get to see these faces that are in a circle on a screen and actually get to be in the presence of people.
For real. Yeah, it's been real nice.
Yeah, so like no, you've been working.
Thanks,
I've been
man.
seeing
Yeah.
you.
Like,
We went
in
to
the-
appointments together today.
That's right, we did. It was a lot of fun.
To
Yeah.
further hype you up, because seriously, like, I mean, I've had so many friends who, like, you go from being, you know, like a little amateur to rising, and now I'm at GameSpot, and so people are like, how is it? Like, how are these people, like, when you meet them, you know, in real life? And, like, genuinely, thank you so much for your kindness, because you are the type of person who you've been doing this for years, and you still can identify in a room, like, maybe someone who's more unsure of themselves or feels excluded, and you're the type to always make the circle bigger or bring someone in and
Thank
make
you.
them feel included, and, like,
Yeah.
it is
Thank you.
the
It's important.
kindest thing to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's easy with cool people. It's the easiest thing in the world. It very much is. Thank you guys for coming on here. We'll do it again next year.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to be back with another segment here in a little bit after a short break. See you then. I've been womboed. I don't know what that means, but it's happened to me. It can happen to you too, and we're here to warn you about it on giantbomb.com. Continuing our couch segments live from Los Angeles, California. We've got a whole crew here, whole crew of media. We're going to talk about video games, I suppose. I don't know. I'm going to introduce everybody real quick. Kat Bailey, how are you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing real well. Rebekah Valentine.
I've never played a video game and I never will.
That's a good move. Moises Tavares. My
I am
boy.
intent on not letting us talk about any video games
That's
on
my
the
man.
show.
Daniel Bloodworth, how's it going?
Hey, hello. This will be the most I have talked to any single person in this room.
That's you know what? That's true. Okay, all right. Imran Khan, you still regret pros and cons?
No. In
Hell
fact,
yes.
I think it's even better now.
The specifically about the name is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I mean, I read. If the idea is to make money, then yes, I really. But if the idea is to just be fucking stupid, then great.
I respect that so much. Eric Van Allen's here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm alive, ostensibly. I got here.
Can we even prove that about any of us at this point?
No, they were pulse checking me out back.
This is too long what we've been doing here. I want to go home. How about you guys? Kat, how are you
Your
feeling?
chair's so comfortable.
It is not.
I was wondering this earlier. How long have you just been like in this room talking to people? Because like we're gonna come.
Oh, I'm like macrometed into here. I'm stitched into this chair now.
Even like yesterday, like 2 days ago, I was wandering around like this show thing that we're all at.
It's a lot.
And I was asking people, "Oh, what did you do like yesterday? What did you do?" And they're all like, "Oh, I was at Giant Bomb." And people just keep saying that, like, "Oh, were you on the couch?" No, I was just there.
Yeah, people were hanging out there for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like you've just perpetually done that.
Here's what's happening. This chair has started to creak in a way that I am convinced by the end of the night it's going to break on me, and I'm not going to do anything to change that. If it breaks, it breaks. That's what happens.
That's good TV.
Yeah, that's where we're at. I'm committed.
Yeah, we'll support you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Moises, what do you want to talk about then?
I actually want to stay on the topic of the chair.
Okay,
you've been sitting in this whole time. Can you feel like your ass anymore
No,
sitting in
definitely.
there?
On the first, I actually had Jan get me some ibuprofen like early tonight.
Hell yeah.
That helped out a little bit. On the first night, it was like, oh man, I'm starting to. And I got back to the hotel room, and this elbow, I think I had tennis elbow from doing nothing, which is, I think that's pretty impressive, honestly. It's like I was clearly doing this too much or something. So I'm trying to adjust a little bit more.
Grandstanding in the chair.
Yesterday, when like just some part of my ribs started to hurt.
Yeah.
Like, what have I been doing that made that happen?
Exactly. And the answer is nothing. Apparently, motion is the lotion, as someone told me once, and I need to do some more of that, get up and move around. That's why between segments I've been getting up and walking around. But I don't know. It is too long, I think. And that's not just like, oh, well, be sitting in the chair for 3 days. I've been here for, going on 5 days. We got to go tomorrow as well. How are you all feeling about it? It's a lot, right? I mean, how about you, Kat?
I think it's been a pretty eventful show, honestly. I was up at 7 in the morning so I could talk about Xbox for multiple hours in a row.
Yeah.
And it was a really good show, so feeling okay about it. I miss old E3 a little bit.
Sure.
But I'm going around to asking people, do you miss E3? And they're like, nah, not really. This is a pretty good show.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I miss the body odor and the walking through the bad
Wait,
pizza
what?
Why would you say that?
Back up. What's this about the body
They don't
odor
get it.
now?
They don't get. I get it, Kat. I miss it too. Give me
I don't know,
Give me those human smells.
I've been doing E3 for like 15 years before it finally went away. It just has a very particular scent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I'm here.
You get addicted to it. You need it.
I'm in E3 now.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's like first time? Is it anyone's first time like in Moises? Okay, so you never did E3.
No, I'm a baby. I kind of got into this field professionally, at least, like for money, very recently. Besides that,
great, isn't it though?
Like, the
money so much. We're constantly saying
I'm
piles and piles of money to say things about games.
Yeah, God,
all those bribes.
Sometimes you might pay off the game you wrote about.
It was I was told my friend, he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, maybe I'll be a director, or maybe I'll write about video games. And he laughed. This is like 20 years ago. He's like, oh, you'll make tens of dollars. He was right. Definitely right. So, Moises, how are you finding it? I'm like, I saw you hanging out with Jan at some stuff before. And I'm like, oh, yeah, now he's here. Of course I want to hang out with him. But are you getting your time's worth?
Yeah, I think I am. I've definitely... I feel like I've gotten a very abbreviated sort of experience relative to what most folks have gotten from E3. It is also kind of just right for me. I have been winded every night coming back from the show floor and then going out with people and socializing after. I usually like to think I'm a pretty okay guy in like a social situation, but also like it's been very overstimulating. I feel moving from one conversation to another, like at breakneck paces.
Overstimulating is a very interesting word.
Yes.
When we're comparing things to E3.
Yeah, well, that's you're not wrong, but I'm still kind of with them because the thing that stimulates me is people, too much people. And it's like, well, when it's especially like in this environment, I'm prepared for it. I see everybody. This is fine. But when it's a party atmosphere and it's one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, back to back, I get pretty zapped pretty quickly. And so I totally feel that. But I mean, when you are working during the day, going out at night, do you find this industry welcoming to a young person like yourself?
Oh yeah, I was talking with some folks at a mixer even just yesterday that I used to go to. I mean, I still go to PAXs, specifically East because it's closer to me. And I've been going to them for years, and even though I wasn't in the industry, I've been hanging out at the Wesson where everybody congregates eventually. And so my earliest experiences were just going there as a hobbyist and talking to people and being like, yeah, I love your games, and this, that, and the third, and talking to other people who were coming up in media with me. And I was telling them, I think I got hooked more on that feeling than anything else. And so I've kind of been looking for a way to legitimize being in those spaces and being around that energy. And so this is like my first real big professional only event like this. It's been a blast. Yeah, I can do
We're
this.
so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. It's just good meeting. It's good meeting all of y'all. It's especially good meeting you, since like we kind of run in similar circles, but like online, I feel like everybody's busy. Also, everybody's shit posting all the time. We're all moving a mile a minute on Twitter, but it's good to like take the time, sit on the couch, and just say hi to you.
Speaking of shit posters, how you doing, Imran?
I'm doing great. This is the Moises' first E3, not E3, LA summer game, whatever. This is like my 20th or something. Like off and on, there are times where I came to E3 and times I didn't. Yeah. So like I have that same nostalgia that Kat was talking about. Like, when I was at E3 before, there was like a simmering level of, fuck, I hate it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm like, I have this many appointments. I'm walking through this just mass of human bodies on the show floor.
And you would expect, like, everyone's in the same boat, so you would expect empathy, and everyone's like, leave me the fuck alone about that. I don't want to talk about that.
Like, if I was taller, I'd take a swing at you, but I'm not. But, like...
He said that to me last night.
I said that to you. I DM you that once a day.
Yeah.
But, like, I miss it in a weird way.
Yeah, same.
And some of it is... The last time I went to E3, I worked for Game Informer when everybody wanted to talk to me, and then I worked for Fanbyte when nobody wanted to talk to me. And now I work for no one, where like it was like, who are you? So I miss it, but also I don't have that access to really enjoy it the way I did before. So this time I just came and like, I work PR now. I am under the dark side. So I came because she had a hotel room. I'm just gonna stay with you, and I slept while she was doing work, and I went to a party, and I was like, yeah, this is great. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, what is it? What was that transition like? It's not an unfamiliar transition for people in our space to go into PR.
Okay, here's the thing. I had a really weird transition in that, I don't know if people know the story, when I got laid off from Fanbyte, when they shut that site down, I was in Tokyo, covering the Tokyo Game Show.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So, like, I woke up, found out about it, took a bath, and then went, I'm just going to go to Tokyo Game Show today. I've got the badge. Why not? Met someone there who's like, hey, I really liked your work. And, like, they didn't actually say it at Fanbyte. They said on Twitter. I really like your work on Twitter. What I didn't realize at the time is that was the job interview. And when I got back home, like, 3 days later, they're like, hey, we'd like to offer you a job.
Well, that's how this all works, though, right? Yeah. I mean, those connections are. That's why we had Baron Jones on. He runs a podcast that I've been on a couple times. The young black kids that are trying to like make it in the industry, and it's like I'm like, hey, you should definitely come on here. And he's like, I'm making those connections. I'm like, that's how it worked for me. It works from the bottom all the way to the top. You meet some people, and they remember you, and then when they need some help, if you raise your hand, they'll remember you, and you get brought in. And that's why these events actually are important, right?
Yeah. Like, you might call it nepotism, but it's luck. It's honestly luck.
It's where the hard work does meet the luck.
Yeah.
Everyone works hard.
Right.
Everyone works hard. And there's I haven't met someone in this industry really that doesn't work hard. And a lot of times it's in their own way. But everyone works hard.
When I got hired at Game Informer, they told me the reason they picked me over like other people was they saw me on NeoGAF arguing about sales numbers and NPD threats. Jesus. And they were like, oh, this is the dude who cares about like the minutia bullshit of video games. And like it's stuff like that. Like that wasn't work. That was unhealthy behavior, honestly. But like it was something that got me my first like leg up into, like I've been doing this freelance for so many years, but like got me into the professional being paid a salary for this job kind of work.
Yeah. Daniel, how about you? You guys covering this? You guys talk over stuff or respond to stuff and on video. You've been doing it a long time. How has it changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and I talked to Jeff and the other organizers of the event, and it's like, I'm really, like, there are definitely things I miss about old E3, the biggest being that, like, old E3, when you could just, like, walk into a booth and discover a game like Katamari that nobody had ever even heard of before, or you could walk in Nintendo's booth and it's like, here's something that's an experiment.
Are you the one that taught me about Katamari Damacy? Is that what it was?
No, because I was writing for a Nintendo publication at the time, so it was like I didn't even write about it.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
Walked up and played it. But so like I missed that element of E3 a lot, but that's decades ago, right? Like the last 5-10 years of E3 has been like very much just appointment. Chances of walking up to something that's not an indie game are pretty slim. But this has been like one of my favorites because it has this good balance of that intimacy, of that connection, of there being so few people here that when you sit down and you play a game, you've got the director of the game sitting next to you talking about things, that inspired him about this part or that part, and then just like between appointments and just constantly talking to people that I may have emailed for the past 2 or 3 years, but never once seen in person. But because I'm on camera, they recognize me, and they're like, "Oh, you're you." So it's like just have these moments over and over. And
exactly.
over
again. Yeah. I'm starting to find like that's actually happening. It's like that's a strange transition for me. So yeah, absolutely. Eric, how about you? How are you finding where the industry is right now? Where coverage is? How's it working for you?
I mean, it's where coverage is kind of interesting because I feel like we're all kind of trying to figure it out. That's been like the big question I've been trying to answer for myself in covering this because I'm the only one here for Destructoid. Yeah. And so I've had to kind of determine what our coverage from the floor looks like because I did, former US Gamer here with Kat Bailey.
And like, but even that part, like, what is that like before you got here? What was the conversation, or was it just like, hey, I'm gonna go and we'll figure this out?
Yeah, it was. You make like a pitch deck. You say like, I've got X number of appointments. I'm probably going to get this many previews, this many interviews. What are the values? Networking was surprisingly high up there. In terms of talking about like what the real value is, because I do think that's the real value is. Even for an old brand like Destructoid, like getting face, showing that we are real humans, that we are alive. And I was joking with someone the other day that this is it's a big post-pandemic event for a lot of people. I know that SGF was here last year.
It's one of my big post-pandemic. It's like really, it's the first time I've seen everybody. Yeah.
SGF was here last year, and some people went, but it felt like we were all meeting Twitter mutuals for the first time, right? Like we all followed each other, we all got to know each other, Zoom, Discorded, whatever, and now we're finally kind of like, oh, you're. So many times I've been like, hi, I'm Eric, and they're like, hi, and I'm like, Eric. At CMoosey on Twitter, and they're like, oh, yeah. I love that one about Kojima and the Fraggle Rock in his throat.
Kat, Rebekah, IGN, how are you guys feeling about it? Eric, she's a high five right there. How does IGN handle something like this? Does this have the, here's what I would assume, that for IGN you need a certain volume of excitement, and do you think you got there? I think with Xbox maybe it did.
It's really interesting going from US Gamer to IGN because at US Gamer we had to fight and scrap for every little piece of access and every appointment, and here developers, you might be surprised to know, want to talk to IGN.
That doesn't sound right.
Get a piece of it.
What?
And so as a result, you get all the access you want, but being able to parse through all of it, being able to give voice to developers who are smaller as well as the big people who are going to drive traffic. I spend a lot of time directing traffic and being like, you go here, you go there, and everything. But I spend a lot more time on camera, behind a desk, talking to people during the show.
How do you like that difference? Because that's listen, we wrote for years and years.
I have opinions.
Yeah.
I have opinions, and I want to voice them on camera.
And it's easier than trying to sneak them into the when you're writing about stuff, and it's got to be a little bit more buttoned up, right?
Yeah, they have to watch me. Thousands of people have to watch me talk about things. Like we were talking about, what was the metaphor?
Right. We don't have to say the rest of the title. Metaphor. We all know what you mean.
Fantasio.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I made Ryan McCaffrey let me talk about it. He's like, oh, let's put this in the. I'm like, you're putting that in the B block, and I'm going to talk about this. So that's the new game by one of the creators of Persona.
Yes, it looks really good.
Hashino. It looks really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks like Fantasy Persona.
Yeah.
I am worried Hashino's less desirable tendencies will surface in that game.
Sure.
Like, I love Persona. There are times where I'm like, dude, you didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
You didn't need to put this weird homophobic scene in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think people write that off sometimes. It's like, that's just Japanese games. Is that still what we're going to do?
I work for a Japanese studio. That is not true.
Right. I think that's not true, yeah. So, I mean, do you think there's so you're worried about it? You think it's likely, or you think he'll...
I think it's not enough to ruin a game. your mileage
It's
may
worth
vary.
criticizing, but we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But for some people it is.
Yeah,
I don't want to dismiss that. Like,
course not.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, if it shows up again, I'm going to be like, okay, this is a pattern, and it sucks that we keep having to deal with this from otherwise great games. Like the example of that is Kojima. I love so many of those games. Metal Gear Solid 3, one of my favorite games of all time. Man, I would love it if I didn't we're not prompted to look at Ava's boobs in that game. But that's just the way it is with a lot of people, not necessarily like Japanese, not necessarily like Western. But bring this all the way back to Hashino again. Like, I'm anticipating that game. That game looks fantastic. I also I've been playing games long enough where I'm like, I know exactly that my bugaboo about this is going to be.
Yeah. I guess in terms of where games are at on that front, I was on the show floor looking around. It feels very diverse. There's more people that look different than me. There are more games that feel like they are coming from a different voice and different perspective. I mean, Rebekah, how do you feel about in terms of where gaming is going and growing?
Well, I mean, it's great, right? I think the last couple of years have been very exciting because I can't we've talked about kind of everyone sitting on a spectrum of how long they've been here. Moises, you got here fairly recently. Kat and Imran, you've been in this industry forever. I'm kind of sitting right in the middle, and I showed up at a time where I was hearing all about this really crappy history that this industry has of treating women like crap and treating people of color like crap and pushing them to the sidelines and pretending that only white guys play video games and acting like that was true when it is patently not true. It's not true remotely. And I feel like I've come in at a time where we have not fixed it, to be clear. We still have so much work to do. But there's also a sense that people are able to talk about it now and able to push things forward and make things a little bit better. And we just watched the Xbox showcase, and it was freaking incredible with diversity and people coming out there and talking about games that are made by all kinds of different creators, and I've seen a lot of push for that within Xbox as well, especially with their ID at Xbox program, promoting a lot of diverse developers. I get to talk to indies a lot more about this. We had tons of really cool indie showcases this week that highlighted games from all kinds of diverse creators, and we're not there yet. I know there's been some criticism of Keely's show specifically. We're certainly not there yet, and there's a lot of blind spots that this industry has. But I want to believe that we're getting better, and every year we claw a little bit more, and so I'm hopeful. And oh man, there's a lot of really good games.
Yeah, here's what I'm worried about. It's Matt Piscatella, who MPD, now Circana, he writes about what video games make money, and he does these reports for the video game companies. When that stuff was happening with the Summer Game Fest, he put out a couple of tweets saying, here is the split of how many women are playing video games. And the subtext there, which I'm happy is becoming text, is women are a big representation in terms of the money. You can make money if you make games for a diverse group of people, and I think that is a very powerful thing. But is there a concern that what has happened with Bud Light can scare some of these corporations away, where they're like, oh, maybe our money is going to go away, and we have to have maybe a stronger cultural push to say, no, this is important because it's our values. You guys worry about that? I mean,
are we not seeing that right now with the Nick Merckx stuff? There's a very real thing happening right now.
That one's weird because Activision was the one who did the right thing there.
Yes. Yeah. And then these. And I mean, these bros who are
keep punching themselves in the dick.
Hey, I'm sorry if this we don't need them.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need Nick Merckx. We don't need them.
Tim the Tap Man, fuck off. I don't think you.
For every Nick Merckx out there that people think they need, there are thousands of equally or more talented creators who are diverse, who are thoughtful and empathetic, who could do just as well or better at the same things that he does, who we should be elevating. If you want to be freaking homophobic and bigoted and transphobic, screw you, get out. We don't need you here.
Right, and I think that is I'm hoping that immune response in gaming is strong enough to stay there, because it feels like some of these other companies are blinking in other spaces. Yeah. Does that come back to maybe the video game industry is relatively small? I mean, do you feel that, Kat?
Yeah, the video game industry is relatively small, and I think we had a moment where we had a lot of vibrant creators, very diverse creators in the mid-2010s, and I'm afraid that the fallout from the games press, the challenges in the industry are driving a lot of them away, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
That's definitely that definitely happened. That was very frustrating. I had some friends that I really looked up to, and they were such great writers, and they were just like, I'm done with this, and so I'm
So
going to
a lot
miss
of
you.
very talented people are unfortunate, and I'm not just talking about the media. I'm talking about across the games industry. Are going, I can make a lot more money elsewhere.
Yeah, and not have to deal with this
Yeah,
this
exactly.
nightmare.
And
Absolutely.
it disproportionately affects more diverse people too, because like the industry is kind of founded on this idea, again, wrong, that only white guys play games, and therefore they have, kind of been promoted to higher positions generally. And when you have like reductions like that, they tend to affect people who are sort of like in lower positions generally, who tend to disproportionately be more diverse people. And so it's just this sort of churn. And so yeah, I mean, it does fall on, it falls on corporations, it falls on us who are here and have voices and platforms to open our mouths and say like, hey, we got to do better, and be proactive about it. Like not just sort of passively say, well, we got rid of the worst abuses, we're done. We're not. We have to like open our mouths and say that this is important to us and take proactive steps to make sure that we're promoting things.
I think
like that.
there's a larger cultural thing, and like this is something that I've grown up with, and like growing up in the South and like being in gaming and all that stuff, that we kind of don't wrestle with the idea of the white default of like when you think of someone, you think of them as white.
Well, I mean, we saw it in the reaction to some of the things in the Xbox showcase today, and I say we saw it. It's in the chat. Of course, the chat's awful, but they, they'll be like, there will be a character creator, and they're going to start with the base of an Asian man, and it's all woke in chat, and it's like just being an Asian man existing is woke. What is happening here?
Yeah.
And it's like that's where they're coming from. Their perspective is the white default is that strong in their mind,
Right.
And so I think this comes back to being proactive. What does being proactive look like, though?
Well, I mean, if you look at the creators, not just in games, but in streaming, I mean, I write a lot about entertainment. As streaming kind of comes together, consolidates and everything, you see places like WB increasingly going back to what they consider to be safe. Anything attached to an IP, anything that's familiar. 10 years of Harry Potter, shows devoted to Twilight, whatever. And when you get into that mindset, you start moving away from being able to give diverse voices a platform. You start getting back into kind of the bad old days, unfortunately. And that's happening in gaming too, because games are so expensive. Games they're so risk averse, and so when they think we're risk averse, they're going to go to what they perceive to be the quote unquote default.
Right. The license game was really the cash in for a very long time, and now we're in a place where one of the biggest games this year is going to be the Harry Potter game, and potentially, if it's good, who knows? Avatar is a very big bet from Ubisoft. That is unheard of, but for a long time, and now it's like it seems to be the major trend in terms of where major publishers are going. I've heard this from people I talk to that building a new IP is very hard, very expensive, and you're not going to save that much money avoiding those licensing fees, really, when you put all that on the table. So it's much better, even if it doesn't always work. EA just got burned by Star Wars a little bit, and they're going right back in with Marvel stuff. So, I mean, do you guys agree with what Kat's saying? That, like, Moises, are you worried about this from someone who's young and I'm sure you have a long history of gaming. I always tend to be like, oh, you're a baby. You started with the PlayStation 4. But is this something that you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I've witnessed a bunch of my friends who are also people of color leaving this industry because it has not been able to properly house them and nurture them. And so, like, when I think of ways to be like proactive about that, I feel like the same ones keep coming up, like, oh, set up funds to support like BIPOC creators, mentorships, and that, not that those aren't solutions, but I just always feel like those conversations stall there. And we are incredibly risk averse, and the shift now, especially towards huge IP things, feels stifling at the highest creative level and the highest like executive level, and I felt for a while there like we were maybe breaking through a little bit, and it now feels like we're retreating.
Yeah, I mean, it's retreating like
with our tails tucked between our legs.
Right, because earlier this year, and we've said this a bunch of times, but like the fears of recession were really strong. The headwinds, as everyone has heard, I'm sure.
Economic headwinds.
In like January and February, everyone got together and like looking at the rest of the year and like, oh nope, it's going to be so terrible. We gotta retreat. And of course, that stuff doesn't manifest in the way they think it's going to. It's going to look very different. In fact, a lot of places are doing very well. They're still it must be coming. We all said it was coming, so it must be coming. And who pays the price for that stuff? It's, these massive layoffs and sometimes, targeted layoffs, but these layoffs that feel just so broad that it's like, there isn't a lot of space right now.
And it's just like, and those layoffs happen before they can ever, like, these studios or these organizations can even really meaningfully enact any change. And so it just solidifies the status quo that never actually got eroded there. And so we end up in the same fucking cycles for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and it's like Daniel, I'm sure you see it, like there are games that are coming out, like kind of not one after the other, but like we go from Elden Ring and then Zelda this year. It feels like Starfield is maybe primed to be this next one that is just going to be this lightning rod for people caring about games.
Everybody's 1-2 Switch.
Yeah.
Put some respect on the horse.
Of course, everybody wants to Switch. Do you think that there is enough people covering this stuff, or is it all happening like, you mentioned this, that we have this spectrum of coverage here where, like, Moises is trying to get in, and you got the Patreon, and you have your personal Patreon, not like this big team Patreon. And Eric, you're working for a website that's been around for a long time, but it's
I'm on
scrappy.
a website and 2 podcasts, baby. That's the media hustle.
And we have the gaming corporation coverage over here. We got this whole spectrum. It feels like we should have enough, and yet somehow it's not enough, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though the point that you make about playing it safe and going back to what you know, because it's like, when you're talking about these issues and diverse creators and stuff, and like the things, like I've always kind of had like the attraction to like the weird oddball ideas, like electroplankton back in the day or whatever, and like and with indies and stuff, and like some of the things that have really resonated the most with me recently have come just because people have different backgrounds, right? And so like Chia was just such a cool, different experience.
For sure.
From a small team, from a place that like most of us had never even heard of before that game existed. And I'm really looking forward to Thirsty Suitors. Because I got turned on to that director from Falcon Age of all things. It's just like, here's a VR game at the Bird, and then you like get into all the other cultural things that are happening in that story. And then I'm just like, okay, I want to see what his next story is. And then everything that Xalavier Nelson is doing, and all the weirdo stuff. Right. One thing after another, just went completely different ideas each game.
Imran, when you were at Fanbyte, it seemed like you guys were trying to put a team together that is the answer to a lot of these questions that we're asking.
Yeah.
What was that like? What parts were encouraging? And I think we know the discouraging parts, but is there anything that we're missing from that story?
So, that's the catch-22 of game journalism in a weird way. That the idea of Fanbyte was, what if you get a bunch of people, talented people together, and just let them do what they want and see what hits and what doesn't? And you can't do that unless you have like the backing of a corporation. And that corporation, it turns out, even when they're telling you, do what you want, win more awards, whatever, they're like, we're gonna kick these motherfuckers out of the wall. Like, that's the thing that like kind of gets me about game journalism these days, is good journalism isn't free. And I know people wish it was. I know that like everyone goes to a website and be like, what cost money about going to ask Phil Spencer, hey, what does your Hexen shirt mean? And like, what costs money is all of this.
That's
like,
a tease.
It's all this. It's flying out here. It's sitting in a hotel. It's paying these people a living wage so they don't like go destitute while they're trying to like do these things and think these things, and like writing. Even the 1-2 Switch story took time. It took me spending time talking to sources, stuff like that. I am very proud that it never comes up anymore because my lasting legacy in games writing is going to be that fucking horse. But the Phenomena story I wrote last year was about the way that studio crumbled. And that took a month of me just talking to people. And like, there are writers who are more efficient than me. There are writers who are like more talented than me and younger than me. I don't want to discourage them from ever like coming into this, but I would love if there was a genuine way to make sure the next era of journalism could be like funded. And I think Fanbyte was that idea of, let's just try it and let's see what happened. And the answer was, it didn't work because we all got laid off. But Waypoint is the one that I think that bums me out the most right now. Even though like they relaunched it. I saw Patrick Klepek yesterday. I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Also, congratulations. Like, Remap is doing great apparently.
He could have left, right?
Yeah.
He's done his time.
Yeah.
And he could have gone on to any number of other things. His skills are transferable. His personality is transferable. the recognition that he has earned. He could have left.
Could have been a community manager for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. He could have done any number of jobs. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that he wanted to stay around, I really find that
Well,
encouraging.
thank God, because we've lost a lot of really talented people.
Yeah.
We're talking about journalism a lot because we're journalists, right?
Mhm.
But I think that also content creators are an important part of it too.
Yeah, clearly.
Influencers.
Yeah.
I want to shout out People Make Games who do incredible work.
Right. That they figured something
Yeah.
out. Right. There is something happening in like a YouTube space.
Obviously, those documentaries take ages to make, right? But they're really valuable. And since we're at Key 3, I call upon you, Jeff Keighley, to highlight these creators during the Game Awards because you have categories for influencers, but you do not have categories for influencers like People Make Games, and you don't have categories for good journalism. So go and highlight that good work that's being done.
Yeah. You heard it here from her. Absolutely. We do have to wrap up a little bit early. We're juggling some stuff over here, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, so much. You guys were so good. I really love talking to all of you. And I've been saying to everybody tonight, do it again next year.
Hell yeah.
We'll be here.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be right back with Phil Spencer and Matt Booty in 1 second. Sam, I had this wild idea to talk about video games.
With just us or anyone
Well, with
important?
lovely people like Tim Hussein,
Yeah, Lucy James.
Lucy James, and also Phil Spencer and Matt Booty are joining us here on the couch. Thanks for
welcome.
coming, guys.
Thanks
Really
for having
appreciate it.
us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice.
Yeah, this is nice. It's when I was thinking about like Summer Game Fest, things kind of getting back to normal. It's like, what is the thing that happens during the summer that makes it really feel like E3 to me? This isn't E3, but it is.
I still call it E3.
I do too.
I can't help myself.
It's a bad habit, right? Not good habit. In my
Good
opinion.
habit.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, but it is Phil Spencer on a couch after a.
You could just say that.
Yeah,
You're
Phil
like
Spencer on a
passed
couch.
out somewhere on a couch. There he is again.
Yep.
Look at him over
Face
in the corner.
down.
Just pointing at him, no recognition in the eyes.
Just Matt
look
behind
at
Leave
him.
him
Be like,
alone.
Yeah,
no.
Matt trying to
Matt
wake you
having
up.
to pick me up and carry me back.
There's cameras, get up.
I guess the first question is, how are you feeling today? You guys had your big showcase this morning. It's got to be kind of nonstop. Have you had a chance to reflect on it?
And you were saying earlier that usually you do this kind of thing a day later.
Have a chance to
I
get
wouldn't
the
call it
clippings.
kind of thing. I do this
thing.
exact thing
a
the
day later.
after.
So what's it been like to come here immediately?
Yeah, it was. So first, great job, you guys. Like I've
thank
been
you.
watching the content as much as I can, like
Yeah,
between
thanks,
interviews
man.
and
Means a
stuff. And I appreciate you reaching out and giving us the opportunity to come on and talk. So
cool.
thank you to everybody. Yeah, like normally we do our briefing on a Sunday, and then Monday like Sony and Nintendo go, and then I'd go on with Jeff on Monday night, and he could kind of beat me up about bad games or something. But we'd have like a good discussion.
Yeah.
But I'd had a little bit of time to kind of internalize what has been going on, and literally like from our showcase this morning, it's been like boom, interview. So I'm a little bit less connected to like the reaction to our
The
show.
reality is,
but-
so am I. Like
Yeah.
I've been here all day talking about this stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this will be like a little silo. We'll say a bunch of stuff that no one else is saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at
The
all.
unique
That's right.
perspectives
A
from
unique
Giant
perspective
as
of
we have
irrelevancy.
fun.
Yeah.
As long as Matt and I were like,
Yeah.
you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
How about you,
Yeah.
Matt? What's it been like for you to kind of like be in it and then come here immediately?
It's just really feels good for the teams, right? Our teams, they work so hard that through all the challenges and all the expectations, they got to keep their heads down and work. And it was great that we had people from Obsidian, Turn 10, In Exile in the audience. And just, I mean, it's a big moment for them, right?
That's the thing I wonder about the most. It seems like these assets that you have to produce for these big events take more time and effort than they've ever taken before. Is that accurate?
I mean, we start working on this show in January, February, so most of the teams will show up with storyboards of what they're going to present. We start looking at it like right after holiday.
That's half a year.
Yeah, and it's a lot for them because everybody, it's part of our process, which is great, but there's a lot of eyeballs on it. There's a lot of feedback, a lot of rework, but it pays off, right? So, but for the teams, for me, it's a combination of just feeling so proud for them, happy that they get their moment in the sun, especially when it's something cool and when we can surprise people. I'm just proud of them, right? Our team's been working so hard.
Yeah, you said it pays off. I mean, is there a math that happens where you're like looking at it like, okay, you are going to have to work on this asset for this thing that is a big promotional thing for your game instead of maybe doing some work on the game itself? Is there a calculus there?
Yeah, I mean, for us, ideally, we're taking stuff that's already been put together and trying to put it in a package, right?
Yeah.
So Phil and I, usually the day before Friday, we were at In Exile, we're at Obsidian, seeing stuff. A year ago, we saw Clockwork Revolution played it. Phil played it on a console. And you can see a lot of what we saw a year ago in the trailer. So that's ideal because, and we're trying to get more and more to that where it's less stop what you're doing, go make this trailer, and more what have you got running that we can capture that then becomes a great trailer.
Right, that's exactly what I was wondering.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so you talked about having this stuff prepared in advance. Obviously, these showcases are no longer just we're gonna show you things. It's also like a kind of a statement that you're trying to make, or you're trying to present a message, or you're trying to make sure that the audience knows where you're going with things. How do you deal with the nature of needing to be reactive to changing times and opinions? Obviously, jumping into the thick of it, you guys had a recent, the narrative around Xbox became kind of stuck on Redfall and needing to kind of bounce back from that. How do you react to that, knowing that a showcase like this started its production 6 months ago? And do you suddenly have the kind of flexibility to be like, we need to move these pieces about so we can address this thing?
Yeah, we honestly don't. And I know there were, like, I was watching some of the sleuths on the internet when the Persona stuff leaked, and people were like, oh, that was in Summer Games Fest, and they pulled it to put it in our show.
Sure, yeah.
And you're like, no, those things have been in the, and our show was in the can for 10 days. So, like, you don't, rewind a little bit, I think it's kind of unfair for us to go to a team and say, hey, like, the Xbox brand is in this, like, has this weight on it right now, and wouldn't it be really great if your asset could be the thing that we could point out, or your game could be the thing that we point at that kind of changes that narrative. It's just not fair to any individual team, which is one of the reasons, I mean, this position is paid to be in front of the brand, and I'll go out there and listen and take the feedback, and I think that's important. But the show itself is the show. Like, we'll pick some themes.
Right.
I think we knew this.
You wanted a lot of big guys. There was a lot of big guys in a lot of the trailers.
Big guys, little freaks.
Big guys, little freaks.
That was
we knew that first party would be strong in this show. We knew first party. Like, 2022 was a light year for us on first party, no doubt.
Yeah.
But we also knew we've got over 20 studios building games and the progress that the teams were making. So I think early on, we were pretty certain this was going to be a strong first party show.
Yeah, right.
And then as the assets started to come together and you started to see the quality and having a couple new IP announces, then I think is where it all really paid off. But that's obviously through the planning of months, not in the last weeks.
That timing, we'll get to that. I think that's interesting, of like figuring out when these games can actually come out. Obviously, that's a problem for everybody. But you said something a minute ago where it's you would feel awkward going to these studios and say, you need to help the brand, so do this. It feels like, and I think this is a good thing, I wonder what your opinion is on it, that you want these studios to be doing the things that they want to be doing, and then you guys figure out the best way to then empower that. Is that what's happening, and then what are the issues that causes?
I think somebody asked me today, like, what's sort of the main thing you'd love to come out of this show? For me, I think one thing for us as a studio system is that this validates the approach, because as you point out, we put a lot of empowerment on our studio heads. A lot of them are creative directors. They help guide the project. We don't have a system where there's a central sort of brain trust telling everybody what to make. So there's a lot of risk in that. But when it pays off, I think you see a variety of games, which is important to us. And I think, to your exact point, you get the passion of what they want to make comes through in the pixels, right? So, we've been trying to get that going for a couple, 3 years. And it's a little bit to Phil's point when people say, did you put that character in because of something that happened last month? I'm like, okay, that character was designed 2 years ago. So there's nothing that happened last week on this game, right? And that means that we got to be patient. We got to know that it's going to pay off, and we got to get behind the studio heads. That so much of what we do depends on them as leaders locally in their studio and owning the creative.
Yeah, that also makes me wonder, like, getting behind the studio. You mentioned with Redfall, we're not going to obsess over that you guys
do you want to do it again?
I definitely don't want to do it.
Redfall 2? Is that what you just said?
It didn't get the support it needed, but then you said immediately after that, like, we're doing that with Starfield. what does that look like? You don't have to get the specifics, but like if there's anything like color you can add to what that looks like. What does support for Starfield look like from your guys' perspective?
And also, like, how much of that support is now being put into the games that are shown today? Is Fable getting that level of support?
Yeah, how's that
is
move forward?
Avowed getting that level of support? Because when you first talked about it, you indicated that it was like you were still kind of getting those engines warmed up, and that's kind of why it didn't work in that end. But are you at a stage now where the full kind of system is working as it should for all these other games?
Go for it.
Yeah.
So first, one thing just to point out, I think with ZeniMax Bethesda, let's think about what's happened since acquisition. So they shipped Deathloop, good game. Ghostwire, good game. Hi-Fi Rush, good game. So they got a system there. So a little bit of, is it something new? Not really, right? I think with Redfall and Starfield, the thing that we're applying on Starfield, we talked a little bit about it this afternoon. We've got first the Advanced Technology Group that sits under Sarah Bond, right? They know the Xbox hardware in and out. That's their lives, and they're there to help teams get frame rate, graphics. They help with the ray tracing on Forza. You know, you ask, are they helping on Avowed? That's a place where we've got the Unreal expertise. So our studio, the Coalition up in Vancouver, I think that outside of Epic, they are like tops in the industry on Unreal. So those are the kinds of things that we're able to apply.
And is that working? Like, is that actually, is it been effective? Is that growing? Is it better than ever? What's the state of that?
Well, I think on Starfield, Todd will tell you that we've been engaged since like early last year. And I hope that it shows up in terms of how stable the game is, what they're able to put on screen in terms of graphics, but even a little bit also what it means to be a first-party game. It's one of the things we talk about is, you know, somebody like Double Fine comes in, they will never get to ship a game as just Double Fine again. It will always be looked at as first-party.
Is that a little unfair to them?
Well, I think that's where it's on us to support them early, and maybe that's something we could have done a little better with Redfall, but that is that transition that happens, and that's where I think the Starfield team would say that they feel supported.
In terms of...
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry, Lucy, I didn't-
No, I mean, I was going to jump to some third-party question,
Let's
but it
do
kind of like goes into sort of looking at lineup. Obviously, the Persona stuff, Persona 3 leaked, but we still got the surprises, and we talked about, you know, reception of the show. A lot of people so stoked to see such incredible representation from Japanese devs on Xbox. What has that kind of process been like, expanding and talking more to Japanese studios?
Yeah, it's work. Like, it is work because we're not the strongest brand in Japan when you think about Sony, Nintendo, Switch, PlayStation, mobile, frankly, and the role that it plays for a lot of the players and creators there. And I remember, like, kind of 5 years ago, it was, when is an Atlas game going to come to Xbox? And so it was awesome to see 3 games. The 2
Let alone Game Pass.
That's right. That's right. Capcom announcing a new IP on the stage, also coming to Game Pass, which is great. And I say all of that, and then I can look at my friends at Square and say, come on. Like, so, you know, I got to get on an airplane again. And for me, it's kind of all about trust and relationship. They have to look at the global market. They have to listen and hear us in terms of what we stand for. We've done that over the years with From and have a great relationship there. We're building relationships with Sega and Atlas and Capcom and Bandai Namco. Like, I love the work that we've done over the years. But it's always work for us in Japan specifically because we are the Xbox team. We're not a platform from Japan, and that's okay. Like, we've got a good team there that's hard at work. Sarah Bond and I are over there quite a bit. I'm just continuing to build the relationships, and I love that you bring up, like, I thought our show represented those creators well, and it was nice, even with the leaks, which, you know, those things happen. I don't get all frustrated about those things, but it was nice to see the support that we had in the show. But we do have more work to do, and I hear about it from the fans.
Yeah, when you do talk to these Japanese developers or publishers when they decide not to bring a game to Xbox, what is the thing that they are saying to you that that is the reason why?
Yeah, that's it's not
there's
one
no
thing.
One
sometimes there's business deals that are done. Sometimes as a team has a focus that they're just, hey, we can only support 2 or 3 platforms, and they're just kind of reduce development risk, because it is real that every platform you add adds more work to the development team. And sometimes it's just a team that doesn't have a lot of connection to Xbox.
Right.
And they don't necessarily see it in their local game store when they walk in. It's even why our presence on the ground with even if we're not selling as many consoles as the competition, if you go to Yodobashi Camera, like I want there to be an Xbox section, I want there to be games that are shown, because I also want the teams at kind of the base level to know that Xbox is a game platform and it's something that they see in their day-to-day lives. And I love the progress that we've made, I think, about like over the 5 or 6 years there, but there is obviously more work for us to do.
From like the progress side, obviously it's been really difficult. I think game side, it's been difficult to get a foothold in Japan in a major way, and for the longest time that's always been in the traditional console, physical, kind of hardware space. Japan is perhaps more forward thinking and accepting of mobile and streaming and that kind of approach. So on the part one of this is, have you seen any changes in kind of adoption in Japan of the console side, and how does that relate to the kind of almost xCloud stuff? How is that working out or digital stuff? Is it something that is perhaps showing that it might be a better way for you to get into that market and kind of maintain a presence that the hardware doesn't kind of allow you to do?
Yeah, maybe I'll take that to a global level, that every market has its own unique qualities, whether it's the kind of socioeconomic situation in a given market, meaning like how much money are people, free cash, do people just have to go spend on this hobby that can get expensive in playing video games? How big is PC? How big is mobile, as you talk about? And this is why I think for us, one of the keys has been choice. On Xbox, you've got, we even have coming up here 3 consoles now that you could go buy in this generation. You can play on PC, you can play on mobile, you can stream, you can buy the games, you can subscribe through Game Pass to go play. And it's because every market feels a little bit different. If you were just focused on what I call kind of the rich people markets, you would only sell $70 games and you'd only sell the most expensive piece of hardware that you could. But when we think about 3 billion people playing video games on the planet, every one of those countries is going to be, or even sometimes less, like sub-countries, is going to have its own situation. And it adds complexity for us when we focus on choice for the customer and where our games can show up. But clearly a market like Japan, it could have an impact, but there are so many other markets where it could as well.
I find that when I'm thinking about the way I approach stuff, that niching down is effective in helping me grow. It's counterintuitive. Do you think that the idea of like 3 billion gamers out there, is that a distraction ever, or is it something that you guys believe that you can execute on in a focused way?
Awesome question. I'd say the thing, and maybe the 3 billion thing is overplayed for us a little bit. The thing I really focus on is that I want the industry to grow.
Yeah. Right.
And if every customer we're trying to find for Xbox currently has a competitor's platform, and all we're doing is trying to like bludgeon somebody else's platform share down so that we will grow, I don't think it's that interesting for us. Like the reason at a Microsoft level the gaming industry is interesting is because it is growing, right? It's, I think, the most interactive, community-led form of entertainment on the planet. And we come to things like fan fests, and we have customers from Australia and Ireland and the Middle East and Africa, and like they're all here in this fan fest and they're meeting each other, and gaming does that virtually every single night when people are playing. So what we're really focused on is how do we continue to grow this industry? And then yes, from a competitive standpoint, I want to make sure we're getting our share of that growth. But if all we were looking at is who else's customers are in the market and how do we go get their customers, we'd be better just kind of going away and letting the market continue what it is. But the market is growing.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that, and I definitely believe that. But there was also like you have to admit that there's the audience of gaming, they have an investment in an Xbox platform, and sometimes they kind of sit there and they're like, we want to see that kind of like getting down and dirty and really fighting for, the audience, as opposed to like, I guess they find it harder to relate to. We're trying to make the gaming industry grow, as opposed to like we want to see our platform get better.
Even like on a more basic level, it's it feels like the best way. If like the business need is like growing Game Pass, which I don't know if it is for sure, but if it is growing Game Pass, like isn't the most effective way to do that to sell more Xbox consoles? And I guess that's probably your guys' main focus still, right?
Right.
So there's two different points, so I want to make sure I get both of them.
Sure.
Absolutely. The people who have invested in Xbox, it's our duty to make that pay off. And that's quality games, that's games coming on a regular cadence every year, and we didn't do that in 2022, right? And we heard the feedback. 2021 was a good year. 2022 was not a good year. And this year we've had some good releases, and we had Redfall, which was not a good release. And this show, I love seeing the reaction, but now we're going to go ship those games. And then that's really what I think when we deliver. In terms of the Game Pass question specifically, I just want to make sure it's not about growing Game Passes. We want to make sure the game industry is growing, and we do think that helps the players on our platform. It's probably a longer discussion. Happy to do it, but on why that is. In terms of Game Pass specifically, Game Pass is kind of a means to an end, which is we just want more people to be able to play more games. And the cost of a video game is something that keeps some people from playing, like the upfront cost, even from trying new things. So we think a kind of zero marginal cost way of somebody clicking on an icon and downloading a game is an awesome way for people to try games they might never have played before. Most of the people who are most of our use of cloud is actually people playing on console who are playing the game before they actually download it, right? And we think that's an awesome choice. In terms of growing Game Pass specifically, to your point, sorry, I'm just kind of
I don't understand. Fair enough.
Most of the growth in Game Pass right now is on PC.
Yeah.
And it's just because there are hundreds of millions of PC players, and Game Pass we started there later, and we have work to do to become kind of more native on PC and support the platform completely. And most of our growth right now comes from PC. And I think to your point of the easiest place for us to grow is actually on PC.
It is, okay.
Now, because you don't have to sell a piece of hardware. Right. So if you look on Xbox, you say a lot of the players who own an Xbox are already in Game Pass, which is awesome. We love that. And on PC, you've got kind of fresh blue ocean there where you can go and surf away and find new customers for those that want them, want to try it. So that's kind of, I don't know if I answered anything other than just blabbed
and that's
on.
why we continue to invest in Flight Sim. That's why things like Age of Empires are so important too. This is why every one of our games ships day one on PC, right? Which is something we do that not everybody does, right? So
day one on PC, and this will be I don't know, people love this statement. We don't look at the PC audience as a window, right? It's a market. It's a market that we believe deserves our games day one. And that's where we're going to ship our games. It's not about, later on I'm going to sell you those games so that something else happens. We see the PC market. We can do a better job with the Xbox app and the work that we have. But our games library, and even our investments in things like Bethesda, was because of their PC heritage and what they can mean.
Do you feel like you're convincing that PC audience that you believe that they're a market?
All I can look at are our users and the business. And the business has never been bigger. I think earlier I talked about we'll do over $1 billion in PC revenue this year. And Game Pass is over 100% bigger than it was last year on PC. And our player base is almost 50% bigger than it was. So I just that's I don't know what else to look at. Can we do better? Yes, absolutely, and we need to.
Well, with regard to portfolio then, you want to be putting those titles out that people are going to think, oh, this is synonymous with Xbox, regardless of if they get it on PC or through Game Pass. How are you balancing portfolio with, the big hitters, the Halo, the Gears, the now Fable, I guess, with investing in new franchises, new teams that could potentially become the next Gears?
Yeah, well, that gets back a little bit to what I hope we're trying to put together, which is a studio system that can support both of those, right? I mean, I talked earlier today about, it's amazing to me that we've got 10 franchises that have crossed 10 million life-to-date players, right? So you think about something like Grounded, which kind of brings all this together. It's a game made by a super small team at Obsidian, right? It was a passion project. Because of Game Pass, that thing finds an audience, probably bigger than it would have if it had just launched into the wild. And now we're able to come back and support it. Now you look at Grounded, I mean, that thing is well over 10 million life to date. Do we have the opportunity to invest and make that a bigger game? So a lot of what I do, working with Phil, working with Jamie Leader at ZeniMax, is think about what is that balance across the portfolio, because I don't want to lose. Minecraft Dungeons was a big expansion for us on Minecraft. That started with 2 people in Stockholm as a prototype in Unreal. And I remember very vividly a Thursday night, it's raining after dinner, they're like, we want to show you something. I think they expected me to sort of say, get back to work. Right? And I'm like, that's amazing.
Back to the mining.
Put your, get the pickaxe out, right? It's like, And no, I was like, we built a team and we went and shipped that. It was a great expansion, and that opened the door to do things like Minecraft Legends, right? So I don't want to lose that. I also want to make sure that a team at Compulsion Games in Montreal, small studio, it's not much bigger than all this. It's like less than 100 people. Double Fine, where they're smaller and they make their kinds of games. I don't want them to look at a game like Sea of Thieves, which has been going for 5 years, or think about, they're making, they've made 5 Gears of War, and think like that they can't have a place, right? So a lot of what I'm grateful, the support from Phil, the support that we get from our studio heads is there's room for all of that. And I think that is what's going to make us that'll be what makes us unique going forward, is if we can get that formula figured out where there's room for all of that.
I think we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the actual show, but before we move on from Game Pass, one question about that I'd love to see if I can get some insight on is, what's the kind of difference in business, in terms of business? Is there a difference in the benefit that indie developers get versus, a major studio like a Bethesda making a Starfield, and what is the kind of give and take that you have to, factor in there? Because I imagine a smaller developer, you put them on Game Pass, naturally my thought is it raises their profile, they get more people in, and generally it's probably good for business. Whereas I'm probably wrong here, like a game like Starfield, which is a multi-million, probably billion-dollar operation.
I saw Paul's tweet.
Yeah.
I think he said $1 trillion.
Yeah, it's this $1 trillion game. At least it's this $1 trillion game.
It wasn't, the budget wasn't.
Okay, so it's $2 trillion. Yeah. So it's this
$999.
extremely expensive game. You put that on Game Pass and it's free as well. Is it still beneficial, or are you like going, all right, we're going to take a loss on this one to raise the profile? What's the balance there? Because surely, like, putting all these major games that you're spending millions on developing, marketing, and then making that away for free, giving that away for free, and then also raising the profile of this service where you can buy it, get it for free. Well, you must be taking a hit somewhere, right?
I think everybody understands that Game Pass isn't free.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Make sure
but like,
it's sort of the best marketing that people still say, for free?
It's the cost of doing business, right? At a certain point,
well, so Game Pass is profitable, Xbox is profitable, and I've said sustainable. People's like, is that profitable or not?
Well, I think people get hung up on like, well, you're spending $70 billion buying something. You're making $70 billion a year, but that's not how it works.
But I'm going to take it back to console.
Okay.
Back like in the olden days when we just did games on console, and every time we shipped a console, we pretended that Sony and Nintendo didn't exist. So anytime you looked at a game, you said, hey, you're not shipping this game on the full console base. You're excluding, let's just call it 2/3 of the market. We were like not always the same size, but let's just say we're going to go ship Halo 2, and we're not shipping it on Nintendo, we're not shipping it on Sony. Nobody ever asked me, hey, how does the P&L for this game work when you're not selling it everywhere you can sell it? But now with Game Pass...
So paradigm shift, we're just like,
and people kind of get stuck, and they say, well, wait a minute, you're not selling every copy that you could sell. How can you afford to go do those games? The math is actually very, very similar. You just, for us, what you did on old school console is you said, okay, how many consoles are you going to sell because Halo 2 launches? How long will those players stay on the platform, and how many games will they buy? And does that make it more cost effective to keep the game exclusive to your platform? And it, like, let's be clear, we could have sold Halo 2 on PlayStation, and we probably would have sold a couple copies. We probably could have done the same thing on Nintendo's platform. One or two. So when I look at Game Pass, we absolutely are going to make money on Starfield, like touch wood, that's the plan. And we will grow Game Pass, and Xbox will be a better platform, both on PC and console where people play. And for us, it's about expanding our platform reach. And we think important games like Starfield will be catalysts for Game Pass growth on a lot of different platforms. But anytime you're growing the platform, there's always this trade-off with games. We are not a third-party publisher. Right? We do something different with our content like Starfield, but not all the content. Obviously, Minecraft ships on other platforms, and we enjoy doing that as well.
Yeah, just to jump in real quick on the developer side, because you kind of asked, like, well, okay, let's say I'm the Forza team. Like, what's those teams? Think about, for us, what's so important is the community, right? In a game, like Forza Horizon 5, like the hardest thing to do is if you launch a game, you build up a community, and then it dwindles, and then 4 years later, you've got to build that back up and get ready for the launch. I think that if you were to talk to the Halo team, if you were to go talk to the Forza team, they would tell you that having that community that feels like they're always engaged and feels like they're always
making money is his job.
But they don't, and they don't have to. You don't have to put that energy into. They ebb and flow, but you know you've got those customers. And I think for something like Starfield to launch into Game Pass and know that, and I think Todd even said this today, it'll probably be the biggest launch that they've ever done. Because those players are there right at the start.
You talked about community building.
Yeah.
Have you got the telemetry or the data or the kind of like vision on? Does Game Pass have a community now? Like, or do you see like people?
Yeah, the network effect.
Yeah. Do you see them like migrating from one Game Pass game to another, or they come in, get their thing, and then leave and come back later?
It's obviously both.
Yeah.
Right. There's some people who pulse in and out when a game ships.
So which one would you
into the service?
You want people to move around, right?
But we don't make it that hard to unsubscribe. I think about early Netflix. And it turned out that.
Are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure?
No, but actually in the beginning, so Reed Hastings, who's the founder of Netflix, was on the Microsoft board. And I remember talking to him about our early growth in Game Pass, and he said he always wanted unsubscribe to Netflix to be right there. That people could, so that you didn't feel like, okay, once I get in, it's a spider web, and I can't figure out how to get out. So like we love it if people stay subscribed indefinitely, obviously, like that's, and we love if they use our console.
But it's probably
forever.
easier just to make good games to make one and come back.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And we missed, I would say, going back 2022, we didn't have enough of those, but I was really, we have 21 games in the show that are going to be.
I mean, but I think the most surprising one to me, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a couple hours now, but Capcom's Path of the Goddess. That's a major third-party game.
Wasn't it beautiful?
Yeah, very beautiful.
It was.
We haven't seen a lot of that before.
For like 5 minutes in my mind, it was a new Onimusha game, and I was soaring. I was on cloud 9.
And now what? Now that it doesn't.
And then I came back down, and then I was like,
you
oh,
gotta try new things.
And then I was like, this is actually pretty cool.
It's on Game Pass.
Yeah. Then I saw it looks pretty cool, and Capcom have been absolutely killing it. I love Capcom, so I was like, benefit of the doubt every time.
But what was the conversation like to get one of these big publishers on board with Game Pass? It seems like that's been a long time coming. At least a major publisher like Capcom, one I recognize from playing NES games.
Yeah, so I think Sarah said this in our meeting or one of our kind of behind things, that all of the third-party games that were in our show that were in Game Pass had previously been, like, those either studios or publishers had previously been in Game Pass. So
but like day one though, it's like because has Capcom had a day one Game Pass game?
I don't know. Like I should. I don't know. I don't have them all.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
so I found that surprising and encouraging that Game Pass seems to be winning over these
for new IP. Teams that have seen, let's say, the telemetry of what happens, because even if it wasn't day one, like they understand what happens when a game goes in Game Pass. Nothing, I think, is more of a testament to the work that the team has done on Game Pass than the number of repeat teams that we have in the service. Whether it's day one or not, I love them in day one, but like that's going from 33 Immortals. You just think about these teams that have been in before. And I love to be able to guarantee, I think you asked the question about smaller teams. We sign a deal with them. I think about Game Pass as a content fund. That we're creating revenue for us that we can then go put back in the market to go create a higher floor for teams when they're thinking about, okay, how is this going to sell? Because we don't gauge our Game Pass deals on how many units it sells or something. It's when the game goes in, here's the payment that you get. I also like, frankly, when those games ship on other platforms. Now, not every team can from a focus standpoint, because then they can really use the community feature of Game Pass to sell more copies on Steam or sell more copies on Switch or PlayStation. And there's a benefit to them being in Game Pass, that it's part of their marketing.
Do you see like Game Pass being used as a kind of risk mitigation opportunity, where obviously new IPs are very difficult to get off the ground, even in this day and age? We live in a world of sequels and remakes and that kind of stuff. So do you see Game Pass being as a means to be like, make this new thing, put it on Game Pass, maybe it will pop off, at the very least you get some baseline level of success?
Absolutely. I might, just because I'm part of the team, I might talk about it as teams aspire to maybe try to innovate a little more and kind of out of a safe zone, because they have a guaranteed revenue source from us, And we got direct reports of teams of we wouldn't have done this if we didn't know.
I remember you on this couch 10 years ago talk about like you play a lot of Destiny.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing people don't play a lot of other games. They're playing Destiny. Why are we making all these other games? It's like a tough conversation.
Yeah.
And it seems like the answer to that was Game Pass, right?
Is it also
play
the same?
Destiny? I had no idea.
But is it also the same for third party? Obviously, first party developers feel more encouraged to do that because you.
No, it is third party.
Or third parties are also being like,
now,
we don't want to launch this. Capcom being like, we don't want to launch this on its own. But
well, I'm not. I won't say that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
in
as in,
terms
like-
of, I think Capcom, as you said, has been killing it.
Yeah,
like
that's
they would be completely fine.
Yeah.
Launching Path of the Goddess.
That
I'm not
Resident
saying
Evil money.
Game Pass is like coming to the safe of that, but when we're out there talking to teams and say, hey, can I get a Game Pass deal? I want this budget for my game. Sometimes we're 2 years ahead of time, and like if the game fits on like what we're trying to do and the fit, then absolutely we'll sign those deals. And I think that's a good thing for the industry.
For
That's
sure.
maybe a little bloated ego on my part, but I think it's a good thing when we have teams doing things like 33-player co-op raids and 33 Immortals.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Very specific.
Very specific. I love that. 33.
I just pulled that out of somewhere.
Yeah, that's right, though. Yeah.
When it comes to the Game Pass catalog itself, what is the balance with, obviously, deals expire, stuff gets cycled in and out. What is the max number of games you think you could put on the service, keep there, that's not going to promote a kind of choice paralysis with players? Because,
Such a good question.
you know, looking at Netflix
Do
right
you have
now.
an opinion on that? I mean that honestly. Like,
I personally feel like.
I didn't ask you.
No. All right, but that's fair. But
you go.
it's the question because we talked about this. We talked about this recently.
We did.
About like when the algorithm is like not trying to give you what you like, but it's trying to promote what it wants.
Yeah.
Netflix was doing that, and I can't
With,
remember.
it was I Think You Should Leave.
Yes,
We were
exactly.
all-
That's what we were talking
everyone
about.
Everyone in our friendship group had finished I Think You Should Leave season 1 and 2, and Netflix would not push season 3, even though
Yeah.
it just launched. And so with Game Pass, I remember when I first started using it, I had not issues, but I felt like the curation was not there for me, and
Okay.
I wasn't necessarily finding the games
It's great feedback.
without scrolling through. But recently, there have been, you know, like more like editors' picks. Here, if you like this game, you'll enjoy this, or you know, RPGs, which is, you know, my jam.
Do you think, and I mean this honestly, do you think there are too many games today in Game Pass?
No.
Okay.
But then I'm looking at, you know, logging onto Steam and
Yeah.
just seeing just an absolute deluge of
Yeah.
things, and I feel like Game Pass
but it's
is
a
as
different
better.
market though, right?
It's a different market, but it's more curated. I'm not being.
Yeah.
It's not everything being thrown at the wall for me, and I feel like Netflix is certainly in that position now, where there is just such an overwhelming amount of content that I get discouraged from even going in. So as, you know, part of the team that is building a library, trying to get people in, trying to maintain their attention, do you have this magical number in mind to keep players invested in Game Pass?
Well, I ask you, just to be clear, like I ask you honestly, because we're always kind of thinking through that.
But I wonder if
Yeah, bill them for
I
that
have a.
consultation. Make sure you
Oh
bill
yeah,
them.
I'll bill
You should. You should.
No, but I
Get
wonder if
that back.
that's. I feel like we have a unique position because
Yeah.
we are living and breathing every announcement. You know, every release date. You know,
I don't like
daily-
pay attention.
don't write it every day, but you know, so I feel like as people who are incredibly clued in to online, you might say, we know what's there. We know what we're looking for. But if you are someone who just dips in every so often, is that going to be more difficult for you if there's too much choice? Do you know where you should be looking?
You nailed it, as usual. The number one piece of feedback we get from customers is I want the games for me. Like we thought early on that it was actually going to be I get N number of games for X dollars a month, or we could use free. That seems to be it's not actually free, but N number of
headline
games.
if you say that.
And what it's turned into, and it, like for the longest time, we still marketed over 100 games, even though like 350 games, because it wasn't actually the number. What people want to do is they want to log in and find a quality thing that they can go play, and they love the surprise things, the things that weren't in their probably retail shopping cart, but they said, oh, I can click on something and download and try it. And when we get kind of knocked, it's when we let something of lower quality in, not because of the number of games, but because they want that curation that you're hitting on exactly. And so we're always trying to balance more I'd say the diversity of the portfolio than an absolute number, even from what our first parties build and from the third party games that we go get. So I think your point's spot on.
You talked a little bit ago about 2022 being this light year, and now we're in 2023. And for a while, it felt like 2023 could be like this this make or break year. I guess I think I talked myself into that. It's obviously not. But a lot of games in those showcase today were 2024, and as we're going through it, I'm like, oh, so this year's going to be Forza and Starfield, and then you showed a Starfield Direct that made me feel like I don't need anything else. Yeah. Is that how you guys are feeling? You guys are feeling pretty strong about this year, about 2023. Are there enough games coming?
Well, I think we're halfway through 2023, so I'm going to focus on what's coming in the next 6 months, and I think between Forza and Starfield that's going to be a lot, right? So, but remember,
don't go short on Monkey Island.
I was just going to say, let's remember that you've got
yes.
You're going to keep getting updates from Sea of Thieves. You're going to keep getting updates from Forza. You're going to keep getting updates on Minecraft. We're going to launch Season 4 of Halo here this coming week, right? So those...
my Dune vehicle at Flight Sim.
I
get my Dune... Or, what's it called?
Ornithopter.
Ornithopter. I didn't have that word. Is that
You're a bit of a Dune aficionado.
I am. I had that word.
You didn't know that one. So, but there's going to be content coming from all those. I have more grounded content that'll continue to come out. So, I think the Flight Sim team now has launched an update a month for, I want to say, 20 months in a row, which is just crazy cadence of content updates, right?
And then this Flight Simulator 2024, that's a new release, right?
Yeah, so the team felt that there was going to be enough improvement in what we're doing with graphics. It doesn't come through. Sometimes I say to them, you guys are being a little subtle, and they assume that everybody's a kind of an airplane nerd. I don't know if you noticed there's a tornado in there, in that trailer. The tornado is it's not canned. It happens because we're simulating weather to that degree.
That gets my heart. That's my kind of game right there.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. So they've just advances in graphics in terms of how they're simulating the atmosphere, the flight dynamics. They felt it was enough of a leap forward that they're going to put a date on it and call it 2024. Right. That'll be the new baseline.
Is that in the wheelhouse of when you say you want to have like 4 major first-party games per year? It is going to be of that various scale of it could be a update to Halo. Or it could be
No, I don't. Okay. We don't count the updates. So that means something new or something major, right? Okay. So that that could be a Minecraft Dungeons, which I count as something.
So that's
new.
where the is that where
right.
this
But
sort
it's
of
not
starts.
going to be a Halo Season 4. It's not going to be Sea of Thieves update or something like that.
I love the discussion, just like a little bit behind the scenes on Flight Sim. So one of the things we do in the show is we're trying to think what things do we put dates on. We obviously had our 12 like everything you're going to see is going to ship in the next 12 months. And they didn't all ship in the next 12 months. So we said, let's be a little bit smarter about our dates this time. Always trying to get better.
There's a lot of Hollow Knight fans out there that are very upset.
I was going to say.
Well, and they're not all the games.
I've heard about that. That's not you.
But it kind of is. Like we set the context for the show. But anyway, the Flight Sim discussion was funny because we're sitting there, we're saying like, well, we know it's next year. And then we're like, well, do we put 2024? Like, it's called Flight Sim 2024. So, like, team, like, if you're going to name the game Flight Sim 2024, you don't get to be 25.
You got to put out Flight Sim TBC. Like
that's right. So I said we just need every team to name their game with the year in the name. Yeah. Maybe that will help.
Put them into a corner.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I think, like, we haven't actually talked about the whole press conference.
I noticed that.
Yeah. I would like to get on that before it gets too far. But, like, we talked about it in various kind of our own corners and together, and you guys haven't seen much of the response to it, so it's worth us talking about it as well.
Yeah.
I personally thought that it was one of the best press conferences that you guys have done in a long time, not only because the content was there, but also, we talked about this earlier, like the pacing was really good, really well done. Like that is, I don't know if that's something that people pay attention to.
Tina
but
Summerford is our producer of our
Tina,
show. Tina,
you killed it. Because also,
awesome.
like, it was Sarah at the start, and then there was a kind of there was a little bit of Forza, and then you came in at the end, and in between it was trailer after trailer, and even though some of those trailers like weren't hitting for me, I never disengaged because it was the perfect length each time. So
is it weird that we're you're in this business of like putting on these shows for us as well as making games?
That must be
kind of like you're like showman and like you have to produce commercials for us to entertain gamers.
But that's why like we mentioned Tina, because we don't
expert.
Like we don't. We have Tina, Greenberg. Obviously, Aaron plays a big role in getting the show. Our PR teams and our marketing teams. Like I don't know I don't feel like we actually do. We're responsible for the show, but they actually work.
No, like even we plug into a structure at the beginning of the year that they set up and a process. I mean, the teams have got to show up with the goods, but even then, I will say, there have been times when we've looked at a trailer and just said it's tough on the team, but we say it's not going to be in this year, and let's either save it for next year or think about another beat during the year, and that's okay, right? I mean, we've really, I think, got to a point where they've set up a lot of good beats for us. We've learned different places to show stuff, and sometimes we make a call that's not going to be in. I really feel a tight partnership, again, like you said, with Tina's team, with Aaron's team, that we get to show up to a process that guides us through it, and we get to feel like, hey, just here's the raw material. It's like, now you guys go cook up cook everything up.
Is it weird though that it still feels like gamers are judging you based on what happens today, or is that fair? Because you said when we were talking Kind of Funny, it's really going to matter when we get our hands on the controllers.
That's right.
Yeah. But today it's still a big day for Xbox, even though no one played a video game really for the most part.
There are some people playing Starfield and Forza back, but yes, you are right. Like, until our customers have games in hands, like that's what's really important. I think at Xbox, we continue to have to earn the trust, and we're still we've been in the business 20 years, but relative to the other console players, we're still the newcomers there, and I don't mind the scrutiny and kind of bar that I think we're held to. And I know for the Xbox Nation, maybe it's because we're part of a big multinational Microsoft, people like the whole are we in or out of gaming comes up every so often. Is this make or break, which some people say, and which isn't true. Like, we have so much, the company's getting ready to spend $70 billion buying a publisher for us in gaming. So there's a ton of support. But I also know that the Xbox fans, as you said, they want to see us compete, they want to see us do well. And I'd say the flip side of that scrutiny and the questions are when things like today happen, and we get to walk out on stage and just feel the kind of love, really, of the community and the fans, and see it online. It's awesome.
Do you prefer doing the kind of closed set stuff compared to, Galen Center, cars on stage, Keanu Reeves coming out?
I love the live shows. It bums me out where we show up, we hit play on a video. I'm like, come on. But
I was going to say, obviously, you showed off Fable today. That's a big deal for you. There's a lot of games that people wanted to see that are now there now, and you put 2024 on there, so you've kind of amped people up now. What is your strategy now going forward to make sure that you maintain that momentum? Because obviously my thought is now we won't see Fable again for months, and we still haven't seen any gameplay for it. Like, that trailer was fantastic, really good tone piece, and I really enjoyed what was shown there.
Why did you think it was gameplay?
As in an actual run
this
through
with Hellblade
of
2, right? Where it's
it's
it's a gameplay trailer. Not today. The first time you guys
showed it,
everyone's like, "Is this really gameplay?" I thought there was cinematics.
There's sections of it, the giant. But
I guess we could try to break down.
Put a HUD on
as
there.
in something akin to the Starfield, where it's here's what it's like to play. Here's a mechanical breakdown for the meat and potatoes that gamers want to see, so they have a good grasp of what they can look forward to.
Yeah, it's hard in these presentations for us to recognize what it's going to feel like when we're playing a game, and we that connection is hard. There was one moment where it's clearly it's behind the back, they're running away from the big giant, and I'm like, that looks like gameplay. But I think a lot of people will take it away as mostly it was this cinematic
experience.
Yeah, so a few things on that. First, I think it gets a little bit to what Phil talks about just earning trust. I think one of the things as we earn trust is that we can be a little more planful about how and when we announce things, because I think that's a big part of managing expectations, is we don't want to announce a game and then go dark for 4 years, right? So we would like to, when we get to the point when we announce a game, that we feel confident enough about the progress the team is making that we get into, if we show up here, that means next year we're here with this gameplay demo, and then we launch sometime that year. That'd be a great cadence to get into, right? I will say, because I've been thinking about this a lot, as I look ahead to 2024, everything that we're going to ship, I've seen builds of, very recently, or played them, or I've said this before, there's so much stuff on Fable that I get with Alan, I'm like, why don't you just show this and this and this? No, because there's a lot of cool stuff in that game, right, that I'm excited about. As I think ahead, even as we get into 2025, we've seen builds of games at the Initiative. We've seen, I know just because they're there in Seattle, what's going on with State of Decay 3. Like we've seen these things. So as I look ahead to the next 18 months in terms of what we're going to be able to show and deliver and do that kind of gameplay,
Do this
do
next
that
year.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously confident, right? Because the teams are hard at work and they get that that's kind of the bar now, which is, look, let's show it, let's come show up with gameplay and let's do a deeper dive when we show up.
When it comes to this year, Starfield is the big thing. Today we confirmed it's 4K 30 on console. Do you guys feel like gamers got used to 60 frames per second and that's going to be a hard bargain to make with them, or do you guys feel confident that they're going to get it when they're playing it?
I've been playing Starfield since November.
All right, you don't gotta brag about it.
No, it's not a brag. It's not a brag. It is a little bit brag, but and the gameplay's great. And at some point, not to get all geeky about it, but there's render time per frame, and teams can either want to go horizontal or go kind of deep on a frame, and I think it's a creative choice. We obviously have games that are running at 4K 60 on the platform. It's not a platform issue. It's a creative decision.
Halo 120.
Yeah, and I think I trust what BGS, the decisions they make, and I trust what I'm playing. And we've handed the controller on a console to people here, and had them play. Done the same thing with Forza, and I don't ever want us to turn playing games into a math exercise. Yeah. That as players we say, hey, if the song doesn't have this number of tracks or the game, and I'm not saying that 60 or resolution don't impact what you play, but I don't think we want that to turn into an Excel thing. Right. I think you want to give the creatives the tools to make the best decisions, and the game will be what it is. I think Starfield's going to be a great game, and I love the reception today, and I don't want to kind of force specs on every game before they start.
Kind of diverting back to the question before this, you talked about showing the games that you're planning to have out. Does the absence of a game in this showcase mean that it's not in your timeline for the foreseeable future? Something like Perfect Dark we haven't seen for a while. Does that mean that it's not factored into the upcoming the year, or is it something that you're like, oh, we just don't want to show it right now, but it could still show up soon?
No, I mean, we've got a show. We have different beats through the year. We got to pick what we're going to show where when it's the right time. I was talking to Daryl Gallagher, the studio head for Perfect Dark, and he and I joke around a lot. We've been talking a lot, and he goes, today I got to watch the show as a fan because he hadn't been part of the process, and he goes, and I think that if I don't stay on schedule next year, I will definitely be watching it as a fan. So a little extreme, not the way we manage teams, but he gets that. All the teams, believe me, they know when they are up next, and we've already, Aaron and I have even had conversations about what does this show look like next year, and what's going to be there, and who's going to be ready. How do we feel about that? So I wouldn't read anything into what's not here. And remember, we've got Gamescom, we've got the Game Awards, we've got likely maybe another event earlier in the year. There's other beats for us to show stuff.
Yeah, the thing I would say, I think your question is a great one. When we sat back and looked at this show, and then looked at next year's show, and even looked at next year's show, and all of it's kind of wrong, but we were very confident in the portfolio that was coming. And I'm usually not the beat my chest person. I'm still not trying to do that. But in some ways it was kind of inevitable for us that after a slow 2022, right. We've got over 20 studios when you think about the ZeniMax acquisition, the acquisitions prior, and the teams that were already there, that at some point, unless both of us need to lose our jobs, and I've been Twitter fired a lot in the last month, that we were going to hit our stride and be in just a great rhythm of shipping games. And when I looked forward, and I had complete confidence in what the team's doing, and very excited about the things that we haven't shown.
And I think the thing that will get a response, and it will be, we always hear wait till next year. I mean, what do you say to someone who's like, we've heard this stance before?
I'll just say that Starfield's shipping in September, that
You won't need
Forza's
anything
shipping in
else.
October, that Hi-Fi Rush shipped in January, that
Legends went out,
H2 Legend, like there is a Redfall thing that I'm not going to avoid, like that creates a mark for us, but I don't think it's fair to say we haven't shipped a game this year.
Right.
I don't think that's right. I think we're going to close the year very strong, both like relative to us and even relative to competition. I feel good, and then when I get into next year, I feel equally strong about what we're going to do. But I get the after 2021, wait on 2022. Like that's what I say. We have to earn it.
Right.
But I think Starfield and Forza are going to be great big releases this year.
Well, I mean, as well, you're talking about next year, you said 2025 too. How many years ahead have you sort of, even in the back of your mind, have an idea for based on conversations you're having with teams on projects that might be very, very early in development?
Well, we were just at Obsidian on Friday and saw a pretty good roadmap. I mean, when you start to think about, what's the future of Halo? What does that roadmap look like? When you start to think about
Machine games.
Yeah, come on. Where's Wolfenstein?
Where is Wolfenstein? Okay.
Where's Indiana Jones?
Sure. But to specifically answer your question, we try to look out about as far as a typical production cycle. So one of the things that has come up a lot today as we've talked to people is there a bit of a reset on expectations around production timelines? It seems that people still have 2 to 3 years in their head. There are a lot of games that could be made in 2 to 3 years, but a lot of big games are more 4 or 5 years. So it's my job to think about, okay, so what happens after you ship Fable? What happens after you ship Motorsport, right? Like, what is that roadmap? And it generally goes out about one production cycle, which would get you into 2026, 2027.
And is that becoming more difficult to manage as there are more studios?
Well, we've got a great team. I mean, it's it's not like I sit there with some board, moving stuff around.
That is what he does.
It's
a Ouija board.
A Matrix. Is it Merovingian? Just like looking at all the screens.
But we have got a whole team that looks at portfolio, and honestly, the teams are the ones that manage that, right? Like, so they bring to us, look, this is our plans. Mostly for us, it's to start, and this is something that. Great that we're in this position. Like, how do we avoid? We don't want to ship this on top of this. Like, what would it mean to move this around? Now, some of that, as Phil will always point out, things they don't slip early, right? So as things slip and moves, a lot of that collision takes care of itself.
Wouldn't it be nice if they did?
It would. My job a lot easier. But we definitely take a look at that, and it's going to be something that I work with Jangy Leader at ZeniMax Bethesda, where we spend a lot of time thinking about. Let's not have all the shooters launch in the same quarter. Let's try to keep some of these RPGs away.
So you guys do think about that?
Absolutely.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like with the traffic jams and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Starfield.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
It's the biggest. I think it's the biggest deep on one we've ever done.
The thing that I now I'm thinking about, and it must be terrifying, is like, how do you now manage expectations for a game where you've basically shown that you can do anything, everything? Because obviously, like, it's now been raised to this point where people are thinking crazy things about the potential of this game. When it comes out, how do you manage the expectations in the lead up to it, and are you prepared for people to be apply a scrutiny that they would not apply to any other game? One, because it's been raised to such a high profile, and two, because Bethesda has this history where they make these games that are massive and incredible, but obviously they're also, the bigger they get, the more of a house of cards it seems to become, where a single knock here breaks XYZ thing. How are you are you confident in it? Is this a different kind of Bethesda that we have now, where they're like, we've got all this under control, it's going to be rock solid?
I think we can probably both jump in on this one. I'll say the team has definitely matured, right? They've got, the Fallouts and Skyrims and Elder Scrolls under their belt. Truth be told, when the acquisition closed, this game had a significantly earlier ship date than where we're actually launching it, even significantly later than the date that we once had for the game, but it was earlier than that before. So sitting down with Todd and the team and explaining that we want to give this team the time I think Matt says we have every QA person in our entire company,
The state of Washington,
like
and-
playing Starfield right now, looking at bug counts, looking at quality and where we are. The nice thing about what we showed today, from my perspective, is that was the game. Like as I said, we've not a little bit humble brag, but
there we go,
you know, we've been playing the game for quite a while, and that is the game. And I will also say, when you look at things like Skyrim, it's not like that team hasn't launched games that have just hit a level of expectation that is so. I love the anticipation. To your question about is it fair of being first party, I think part of being first party is the level of kind of attention you're going to get. And I think Todd and the team are really primed for that. And I love the reaction. We didn't know what we had like 40 plus minutes on one game. And we didn't know what kind of engagement was going to be like online and whether people were and it was pretty amazing to see. I don't know if you've got more on.
No, I would just echo first, we have an awful lot of people internally playing it. And I'll
You
just
do.
say working with Todd and the team, I see bug counts and just say that just by the numbers, if it shipped today, this would be have the fewest bugs that any game from Bethesda has ever shipped with. And if that was today.
That is a
right?
good
So
thing to have.
we've got more time to go.
I like the bugs.
I start to think though about Skyrim and where that community is still 10 some years later, and you start to think about other things that they've done with the game. I think that there's just potential that'll get unlocked in the game over time as people discover all the different.
And they haven't talked about everything.
Nope, absolutely.
What is left to talk about?
Todd does that.
I didn't see any romance options. So
Yeah.
we got time for a couple more questions. I think the one thing is about 10 years ago, you were on this couch and Jeff asked, "Hey, games are shipping broken. What's gonna stop
Is this the
that?"
one where Kudo looked at me instantly?
Yes, it is. Yes,
as
it
soon
is.
as the question, that
right.
guy.
And I think clearly nothing's changed there, and it's not going to. So I guess the question is why not? Like, I mean, making games is hard, so why hasn't it changed beyond that?
I don't know that it hasn't changed. I think as an industry, have we gotten better at shipping quality? I don't know. Like, we could go back and do the math. Games have never been bigger or more complex than they are now. Like, every time a new technology comes along, Matt and I laugh that this is going to be the technology that makes creating games easier and less expensive. And all it does is raise the bar of expectation and complexity, and teams work really hard to go meet that. I will say one of the things that we talk a lot about our teams with now is we want you to be amazing at the things you do, but you don't necessarily have to do everything that every game has ever done, which has been an evolution for us. If you think about our games, you've got multiplayer, you've probably got some like creator mode, you've got single player story, you maybe have co-op, and when the games were a little bit less complex, you could maybe get away with that, but even then, I think the complexity would overwhelm you at some point. So when we're talking to our teams now, it's pick the things that you want to be world class at, and just go. And you look at like the Hellblade asset today. Like you know what Ninja Theory is going to do. They're going to have an amazing, believable character in a world that's just mind twisting, and put you inside of her mind. And we want you to be world class at that. So we've tried to help reduce some of the expectation of complexity. But games are just so big, right? It's not an excuse.
If you go back to 2018, when you and I talked, I remember a conversation we had was like, look, we're going to go acquire Double Fine. And I remember asking you, like, are you good if Double Fine ships Double Fine games for the next 10 years? Because we're not going to acquire Double Fine and they're suddenly going to go, create this huge open world game built by 300 people. Right,
and Psychonauts 2 to me was one of my favorite games of that year. Like, awesome.
Yeah. And so I think, to your exact point, part of that is helping them set the expectation of you do you.
Yes.
Right? And go do it well, but please don't feel that you've got to go create this, game of all
And Todd
things.
decided to create a galaxy.
Yeah, he did.
Well,
he's a madman. You got to do something about him.
Great jackets, though.
Yeah, wonderful.
You
kind of like a cynical kind of observation based on discussion.
Really? Okay.
I'm not cynical, but like I'm trying to channel the people who are out there that are like, going to be thinking about, and I've seen having discussion. One of the things that someone might say is like, this broken system where people are shipping. We've also kind of formalized it, have we not? Like with early access and that kind of thing. So a lot of people like me see the value in early access with a game like Hades, for example.
Yeah.
An incredible experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's just a deluge of games that come out that are half done. And what do you think the impact of having that in the ecosystem of releasing games does to games as a whole, when someone like me who is interested in a game sees a game come out and immediately it's like, this is not done, and I am like, well, I've got all these other things.
No, you nailed it. It's what's your intent with early access.
Yeah.
I think if it's you're putting into early access as cover for it's not done. For us, Grounded was in early access for almost a year before it shipped 1.0. The intention there was get feedback from the community on how this thing plays and what people want to do and how we can lean in. We've got a year, what more can we do?
Right.
So I think you've got to be clear on what's the reason you're going, because I think you're right. You don't want to use it as cover for something that's just not done.
And last thing I'd say, and I know we're almost done.
Yeah, no worries.
In the end, the player votes.
Right.
Like there are great games this year for people to go buy, and there are games that came out, including from us, that were below the quality that they should have been at, and they didn't sell.
Right.
And there's great games I don't have time for as well. Like I got choices all over the place.
And I don't love it when one of ours or another game comes out and it's not what the team had kind of goaled themselves in the beginning, aspired to go create. But in the end, the gamers get to vote with what they play, what they pay for, and what they buy into. And that in the like it is kind of survival of the fittest at some level, and the market will shake itself out, and we will all learn from the things that we do and others try that don't work.
Cool. Matt, Phil, thank you guys so much for spending time with us. Last thing, the Hexen t-shirt. What's it mean?
What's the deal?
Yeah, come
what
on,
are you
man.
doing? You know you should not wear a t-shirt unless you really want that thing to exist. Okay? Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, make it happen.
Tam also has a pitch for you after this.
Does he? Yeah. For Hexen or no? Okay.
No, for Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Yeah. Okay. Really? What's
what's the deal with Hexen? Are we getting a Hexen? Yes, no.
Is that a video game?
We're going to keep this conversation offline, everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next time, like 10 minutes.
Awesome.
See you there for the last
Congrats,
segment,
guys.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on.
2 segments, whatever. Thanks, guys. Quackaga, you're out of here. All right, so we're back. I said last time that this is the last segment. That's not true. I have respectable people on the couch right now. The clowns will be coming in about an hour. For now, though, I'm just glad to be back with Giant Bomb, live from Los Angeles, as we talk about video games and nonsense and whatever else. I'm Jeff Grubb. Joining me on the couch, I have an all-star crew. We have John Davison down there at the end. John, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm doing pretty good. Peña.
What's up?
We got Riana. Riana, is it Peña?
Manual-Peña.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ronnel Crawford.
That's me.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Glad to have you. Elisa Mercante.
Hi.
Yeah. Now this one I'm gonna mess up. Ethan Gach.
Yes. That's it.
I got it?
Yeah.
Gach.
It's too many names in one day for me. My brain's fried, but we're gonna get through this one together. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually most interested in Riana. What's it like covering video games when pregnant? Like that's gotta be.
You know, it's funny. A lot of folks, a couple of folks over here have asked me that today. It's exhausting, much like it is for everyone. But what I found really interesting is there are a lot of accommodations that are easily made. Right, and all you need to do is ask, and usually people will help you out, and hopefully they have a little patience when I need to sit down in the middle of a stadium.
Was there a time where it's like, I don't want to be a bother, or are you well past that phase? Where you're like, no, I need it now.
I'm well past that phase. Yeah. I'm absolutely going to ask for what I need, but that's just part of my personality.
You think the industry is kind of a place where women can feel more comfortable being pregnant in the workplace and coming in, and you're not going to get, not going to feel like you're uncomfortable or putting people out or something like that, or yeah.
I think it depends on the situation and who's around you. Luckily, I have a lot of badass bitches around me who will not hesitate to stand up if I need assistance or a second voice. But it really is situational. There are some times when I am the only person who understands what's going on with me, and it can be hard sometimes.
Ethan, Alyssa, how's Kotaku doing?
Excuse me?
What?
Great.
Amazing.
Oh, awesome.
Never been better.
Nothing wrong. Everyone loves us. Obviously.
We actually, you'd be surprised how many people I talked to this week who were like, we love Kotaku.
I bet you, yeah.
Why are people always talking shit? We love you guys.
Right. I bet that does. I'm not surprised by that at all because it's good and like people are really weird about Kotaku. They're so weird about it. And it's
a weird name.
Yeah, is that it?
We gotta change that someday.
Yeah.
It's a weird fake Japanese name that never existed. It's not a good look.
Yeah, that was the story with like the EGM publisher, wasn't it, John? Where like Sendai was
everyone thought it was Japanese.
Yeah, it was just he picked it because he thought it sounded Japanese, right? So there's a long legacy there in video gaming of doing that. But yeah, I mean, I guess going into work, writing about video games, how do you ignore all that cloud out there?
Alyssa, as one of the newest recruits, how do you ignore all the crowd?
I don't.
You do it, so.
I do it, but I think I have a unique. I don't know. I also kind of like weirdly. I love mess, and so I'm just kind of like if they're being terrible to me and it's directed towards me, I can handle it. And if I have my team who's a little bit younger, and they're getting into the industry and they might be people of color or queer people or trans people who are trying to figure out how to navigate this. And getting, a lot of comments on a lot of things that they write. I tell them to come and talk to me about it. And then I'm usually a bitch to people on the internet in their stead. So I don't mind. I mean, it's a lot, but people are passionate.
Yeah.
People are very passionate.
Passionate hobby.
It's a really passionate hobby.
That's what the companies say when they're getting yelled at. Like,
Yeah.
You guys are passionate.
Really
We
passionate
love the
fans.
passion.
Yeah, it's okay. And sometimes I know that I poke the bear, and it's okay. It's okay.
It's a good strategy. Yeah, I think you're right though. The focusing on the people that are not necessarily kind, but like that you want to help really helps, right? Yeah.
100%. And like again, like I have thick skin. People may not have thick skin. I don't think you should have to have thick skin to be in this industry, but it helps. And yeah, I can take it for now. I mean, maybe I'll have a nervous breakdown in a year. Who knows?
You're not a true kotaku writer unless you've had one.
Okay.
In the first 18
We're all
months.
Mine's due. Okay, we have a timeline.
Ronnel, how about you? How's this week gone for you? Have you gotten your money's worth, your time's worth, your whatever? Has it been good?
It's been solid. It's been solid. I think see some great games. I've seen a lot of polarizing discussions, and it's always fun.
Enlighten us. What's the most polarizing discussion in your mind?
Me cutting my hair, I bet. Yeah.
Honestly, no. I mean, which showcase is better, right? The PlayStation versus Xbox, obviously. Is Starfield worth caring about?
Phil, after the camera stopped rolling on the last one, he was like, it's so weird how, like, before it's like, oh, this game looks bad. And now it's like, this game looks too good and there's too much of it. I was like, yeah, that must suck, Phil. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. What do we do about that? It does look like when we go online, people just kind of want to be mad. Or it's probably very easy to see the people who are mad, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's it. They're just the loudest, right? They usually kind of speak that can garner likes, right? Like they say pretty strongly worded paragraphs that usually lead to likes. Where people who like it, they're like, okay, cool. And they keep scrolling. So it's difficult, but it's fun. Like you said, I'm down for the petty stuff.
I am petty mayonnaise. I love it.
100%.
Yeah.
John, what's it been like overseeing IGN at something like this?
It's surprisingly like an old E3.
Yeah, for us it is, right?
Right? I think, like, we were originally... So it's expanded. So for us, I think we're carrying 20-something live streams over the course of, like, 10 days. So it's a lot of planning. So we run everything out of the studio down here in LA. So a lot of people that are elsewhere fly in for it. Right. So it's the most people we've had in a building, I think, since COVID started. There's like 100 people in the office right now. I haven't seen that for a long time.
That's incredible.
Like previously, like we would go to Gamescom and there'd be like 50 people there, and it's like, oh my god, people. But whereas this one, and we've got people coming through like demoing games and stuff as well. So it's been quite a luxury. Not doing. We were planning on doing a booth on the show floor, and we were going to have demo pods, and we were going to do a stage like the old days. And we were sort of like, so who's going to be there? Like,
right.
Who are we going to put on? And they're like, well, you guys are on. I'm like, well, there's not really any point us being there if there's no games. And then as it sort of fractured, it logistically it's been really tough. And because we've had people in lots of locations and we're doing video and editorial at the same time, so we've got teams going backwards and forwards to Jeff's thing, and people coming in doing demos, and we've got people on stage like doing interviews, and we have the pre and post shows on the
and it was impossible to like really fully plan for, right? Because we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. So it's keeping a lot of plates spinning, but it's
the one thing that's really clear, I'm sure you've all seen, appetite for games is bigger than I've seen.
Yeah.
So that stuff doing crazy traffic that we wouldn't have expected to. The things that are big being way bigger than we expected.
Yep.
We did on Jeff's thing. We did 1 million more views than we thought we would.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats.
Congrats, man. But I mean, congrats to Jeff.
That's true. Yeah. It's true. I mean, hey, let's quote Ronald Reagan: "A rising tide lifts all boats." Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, and I think we were looking at, we were thinking that this year would peak in June. And we were like, what the hell does Q4 look like? And then now September and October, there's 12 huge games in the space of 6 weeks.
Yep. Like a blink of an eye.
Yeah,
it was
fantastic.
Earlier this week, you guys had a little controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you guys had the 4 white guys on the stage and people pointed it out.
Yeah.
What was the conversation like after that?
We deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying, we're juggling all these things, and sometimes you lose sight of everything that's important.
It's a proactive thing,
and it's a proactive thing, and I think the bulk of our programming is diverse. It's been a priority for us for a bunch of years now, and on that one, it was like we were moving so many people around, and then you catch it in the moment, and you're like, well, we go live in 4 minutes, like we can't really fix it now. But it prompted a bunch of conversations again to make sure the showrunners are thinking about it, the producers are thinking about it. It's got to be something that we're thinking about, because I think because of the position that we're in, we have an obligation to represent, but I think we also have an obligation to help mentor people and train people and coach people. And it's not just be a better writer, be a better host. It's like you got to be thinking about all of these things that are important because you got to look like your audience.
Right, and it is a skill. That's something that's been a thing we've talked about a lot this weekend, and it goes back. I can't remember. It was a story on GamesIndustry.biz or Gamasutra back when it was called that, where it's like the Rolodex problem of it's just so easy to go in your own Rolodex, and who's going to most likely be in your Rolodex? The people that look like you, and what are the skills you need to learn to get out of that trap? And it's something that is actively have to happen. It has to happen all the time, right?
In the segment before, Phil, you guys were talking about making sure that talent's diverse.
Yeah.
We also got to train everyone, right? We need the experienced people. Like I'm getting old, right? And I think we need to move everything forward, and the people. And it's not just, there are different flavors of games journalists. People tend to use games journalists as a pejorative when they hate us, right?
Sure, yeah.
And they forget that there are different flavors. There's critics, there's reporters, there's, people that can write great game help guides and stuff. They all need training, and they need good editors, and they need, we need to, train up that next generation. I think it's something that, you had Kat on earlier, that she and I are talking about that a lot right now with reporters, because if we don't do that collectively, the pool of people that do this is going to dwindle.
Right, and it is something that maybe it was easier, and I love working from home, but when we come here and we do get everyone together, it does feel like connections are being made, and if we can, and just by the nature of who wants to be covering games, a lot of people are showing up, and you can say, you know what, you should come in here. I would love to come and train you, but it is hard to do online, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, but I have to give credit to you guys, because you invited multiple times. You guys invited me and also Riana and Paris to be on, and it's good to see you guys supporting other people that are not getting that support. Because we've been doing it for a very long time.
Right.
Especially you.
Yeah, well, but
it's like 1907.
Yeah, before Christ. Yeah, but now it's good to see that you guys, Ryan, you guys been very supportive about that, man. So I think you guys weren't thinking about okay, let's have 4 white dudes here on
right, yeah,
camera.
Of course,
it was more of a realization. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, but
once you look at the confidence monitor, and you're like, well, that doesn't.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with what happened with Jeff too.
Right,
he wasn't thinking okay, let's have a bunch of guys here.
And I think it
happens.
Maybe someone is saying that they're doing it deliberately, but I think most people are recognizing that it's something that happens by the nature of just putting together a show, putting together anything. People take the path of least resistance. The brain only uses 15 watts of power, and so it cheats all the time. And it's like it doesn't want you to think about everything all the time. So again, it goes back to you got to be proactive. Riana, there are things that people can use to maybe think about it more quickly in the future.
Practice helps, obviously. Also, having the people making the decisions not all look the same helps a lot. right? If there's a pregnant black woman in the room as you're putting together the panel, she's probably going to notice and say something. So it's just making sure that, like as you're saying, training people up, making sure there are decision makers who are diverse, who have those different experience and those lived experiences, and can really speak up for the people who may just be overlooked because of convenience and speed.
Ronnel, how do you view this, and how do you view, like, has this week felt like something where you are seeing any of those connections happening for you?
I think so, a little bit. I mean, Juneteenth is coming around, so like a lot of people like to, you know what I'm saying, send some emails to some black people.
Like February.
Like May, September, October.
It's a little a hot time for us.
It's good to be black in February.
You know what I mean? But other than that, most of the time I'm at home online, right? So it's a little difficult. I'll get a couple emails every now and then, and those are great to see. But like she said, if it's hard when not just having someone in the room at that moment, but you kind of have to force yourself to have diverse experiences in general, right? You kind of have to, if the people making decisions only got a bunch of white friends, it's going to be weird. You know what I'm saying? When they try to get a black person or a Hispanic person or anybody else in the room, it's just going to be weird. So they have to force themselves to hire someone else that can help with that perspective.
And like hiring people is a big, expensive process, and people are scared. It's risky. So it's like, for putting together a show like this, it's low stakes. Like, you come, you can't, whatever. But it's like, I try to be a little bit more mindful of it, but most of the time in my normal life, I sit at home, play video games, don't do much else, take care of my kids. Yeah. That's it. It's hard to get those experiences you're talking about where I am going to go out and meet anyone. I don't have any friends. So I got the cat. The cat's a friend. But you know, I guess I'm hoping that like little things can build into something bigger, and or people knowing that they can pass along the baton a little bit. Like I am after this. I am going to go home and be lazy again. This was a week of a lot of work, and I'm glad that I can get a lot of different people in a room. But I'm not like going to be someone who is going to be able to do this as a marathon. I'm hoping that people can take some of this stuff and carry it forward. Do you get any sense that might happen?
I think it's much easier now. You don't have to go to a network event to kind of see some talent. Yeah. You can scroll on TikTok and see some cool people. Just kind of force your algorithm to help you out a little bit. And I think it's possible, you know what I'm saying? Scroll on TikTok a little bit, follow a few different people on purpose, and then I think it'll be a lot easier that way.
That's a good point. Little things add up. Like, even the way you reached out to me, if I may.
Please, yeah, absolutely.
You DM'd me, and we've interacted on Twitter before we follow each other, but you said, hey, I want more representation on this panel tonight. And I'm fucking tired. Like it's been a long weekend. But the way you said it, you're like, I don't want you to come here and just only talk about that one part of your lived experience. I just want to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I responded.
Thank you.
And those things add up. Like, when you really just approach something from a genuine perspective of, I want to hear your story, I want to hear your perspective, that helps a lot.
Yeah, and it's I like when I also do my Game Mess morning show, and it's like I'm trying to look for different places. I have a hard time saying names. I'm ADHD. It's a bad no executive function. So
Mario.
Mario. So keeping people's names in my head is a difficult thing. But that's the one thing where I'm like, I want to be good about. Even if I'm going to struggle to say the name, that can't be a reason not to use someone's story. Like that would be I think that would be a very bad thing.
Right. You can look stupid, and that's fine. And you just go through that, and
Right, and it's like, well, so I look stupid. So what? And then it becomes a fun joke that the chat really likes. Where it's like, of course, Jeff messing up a name again. But I don't know. Is there something in that? Is there anything else I could be doing, or anyone could be doing?
I have a question. How did everyone else get here, pay to be in LA right now? I know some people live here, some people travel with companies. So like, I know Alyssa and I were both being paid to be here by the company. How does everyone else get here?
Ronnel, how'd you get
I live up the street.
He walks. He was just walking by. He limes. He limed.
Just hopped on the skateboard.
We live here. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was easy drive for us. So.
Yeah.
I live in the Bay Area, but we got
right. So I think, I don't. Maybe some of the companies are already doing this with content creators, with other people, but. Jeff does what's the future class, right? With the Game Awards.
Yeah.
You have a fund to just, hey, we're gonna pay to bring certain people out here next year, and just to have so you can meet, because I think one of the issues is that as companies have become more cognizant of this, and as people within those companies have tried to make a bigger effort, there are fewer opportunities to meet people in person. And so you can exchange emails, you can be on Twitter and be friendly, but like if you can get people in a room together, it creates more lasting connections, it creates trust, and you just need someone to foot the bill to make that happen and then grow those connections so that you can have a bigger pool of people to be on panels, to be talking about games, to be at showcases, to present and stuff.
I mean, Danny, I mean, going back a long way, you didn't always just live down the street from the place you were going.
No.
You always kind of made it happen, right?
When I first started in 01, I was living in New York City at that time, and I just showed up at an event, multiple events. I think my first event that I attended was SegaNet for the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah.
Wow. Don't admit you're that old.
Yeah, and after that, I learned that Xbox and Nintendo, they were going to be in town to promote like GameCube and Xbox, and I just showed up. I had no media credentials, nothing, and I asked, "Hey, I'm recording this for my show. Can I get a media badge?" And they just gave it to me. So that was pretty cool, and that helped me to open to connect with a lot of people from Microsoft and also Nintendo. And but after that, I was taking a break because of school and everything. But in 2005, I was living in Miami, and that's no gaming city, So I had to start having events on my own in Miami to stand out, and it helped me to get a lot of the companies to go to Miami because of our parties. Like we had parties with like over 1,000 people there, and that's when companies started like sponsoring us and connecting us, with other contacts and everything. But it was weird at that time because when I went to my first E3 in 2005, again, I wasn't connected with anyone. I just showed up, and I was giving people my media badge. I'm not media badge, my media kit. It had my show and everything in there, CD. And
sure, yeah.
Yeah, so when I gave it to them and I told them about podcasts, everybody was like, what is this? This is like a waste of time. Everybody ignored me. But then it changed because a month after that, I think Steve Jobs mentioned about adding podcasts to iTunes. That's when everything changed for me.
You were doing podcasts before they were on iTunes?
Yes, way before.
That is wild.
Way before, yeah. So after that in 2006, that's when everybody started calling me, But at that time also, I'm attending events and I'm the only Latino there. Mm-hmm. And that was very difficult for me, because I felt
that's something Paris mentioned, where he's like, I see another brother and I'm not, and I'm like, yeah totally.
I felt alone. So then, meeting Paris and other people, I started like helping them also to connect with the right people, and us going to events, or we just show up at a party and we'll lie, like just try to get into the party. And they'll hook us up, But that's the early days for us, man. But,
can't do that anymore.
Not anymore. But the reason I'm saying this is because I felt like I had to work 10 times harder just to stand out, man. Mm-hmm. And now I'm glad to see more people diverse in the industry more than ever, because before it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, I guess my question would be like, you hustled really hard. It took a long time.
Sure.
It's paid off. Do you have any strategies for putting the ladder back down?
What I've been doing lately is I've been helping upcoming creators as much as I can, and what I've been doing also is talking to kids in like different cities in New York and Miami, because I also want them to feel like if Danny could do it, they could do it too. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing this with my wife now for like the past couple years now. And that's like our goal, to pass the torch and help as many people as possible, man. So, like, even today, I met someone that I've been mentoring for a while, and we met through Zoom. And now I see him, a media badge. He's also Latino at Xbox, and he's talking to everybody from the team. And I saw him also in Summer Game Fest too. And at first, he had no contacts, didn't know what to do. And I feel like it's important for me to help out as many people as possible, because I didn't have that when I started, So, and I think we're gonna do that big time. Yeah. We're gonna go that full time.
Alyssa, when you are, when I think of you, I think of someone who's very young.
I'm not that young, thank you. The Botox is very good.
Botox?
You run in,
yes, ma'am, a lot of it.
You run in circles that frighten me as a boomer, is what I'm trying to say. And I wonder, what's the sentiment among people who cover games or are interested in covering games from them? Like, what do you hear?
I mean, so it starts at a level of like, like, okay, so obviously there's like, I think there's two pillars. There's like representation. There's people seeing themselves represented in the games that they play, or in Twitch streamers that are being centered on Twitch, or, you know, writers that are getting opportunities at websites or streaming, right? And then there's also like sort of what Danny and Riana are doing, which is like when you're younger, and education opportunities. And like, I'm in the New York Video Game Critics Circle, and they do a lot of stuff with kids in like the Bronx and like Harlem and stuff, like offering them like, you know, chances to like come in and like speak to journalists and hear about what we do for work and understand like the steps that we would take to become a journalist full time. Or we mentor J school kids, and we offer like chances for us to raise money for them. And so I think it's like a two-prong approach. Like, I think companies who have like the money and the means to put people, like the Xbox presentation today, right? There were four black characters like centered in these trailers, right? And that's a thing that I think it's definitely shifting and moving like better. I'm not very young, but it took me a really long time to get in this industry. Like, I tried years and years and years ago, and it wasn't great. It seemed like there were no opportunities. I gave up for a while. I went and got a master's degree, which is a total waste of time and money, and then not in journalism. And then I finally got into it like only 4 or 5 years ago, but it was a dream that I had since I was a kid. But it did feel like I had to give up on it and then keep hounding and keep trying, and someone gave me a chance, and I'm here. So it's like, yeah, there's the people who have the ability to extend like opportunities to people, like do it as much as you absolutely can. And we have a lot of young writers at Kotaku that we're trying to mentor that maybe they wouldn't have gotten an opportunity in this industry a couple years ago, or maybe someone else wouldn't hire them because they don't come straight from J school, or they haven't been at 8 other websites. But we're, you know, working to make it so that...
Or the biggest thing is that they weren't at the event that the editor was at.
Yeah.
Like, if the editor was at the Xbox Showcase or at, you know, DICE Awards, and they see someone else hustling, and they're like, oh, I want that person on my team. Right. And so if you're not already at that event, being able to demonstrate those things, they're not going to see you. And so it's throughout the entire cascade of relationships and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to shift up a little bit, but I want to stick with you two. How do you guys view covering games right now, Kotaku?
How do you mean, Jeff?
I just mean, like, it's such a weird time.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah,
we're gonna pick up the shotgun.
Yeah.
We're gonna play.
You know, it's weird. Like, obviously there are big games that act as these huge pillars, but like we see with you know, this was one of the stories out of Fanbyte. It wasn't the only story, but like, you know, Elden Ring was really big, and it was this huge money maker for them, and then it went away, and it's like, oh, well, now it's low tide. Everyone get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Clearly, that can't be. We can't just wait for the next big game. There's got to be a way to talk about games, you know, sustainably between these big pillars. I know a while ago Totila did the thing where he's like, let's have beats, let's focus on, you know, one big game, and you really go deep on that. Is that how you guys are still looking at it?
You know the problem with that?
I would love to hear it.
Everyone else is doing it now too.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot harder.
Yeah.
Everyone else has figured out the secret formula, and it's hard, because I think what you'll find from a lot of people is you can bring the eyeballs and you can get the audience, and there's a whole other part, which is, can the sales team make the product, sell the ads, monetize it? And you know, I'm sure, you know, there's, even if you have a big audience, it's like, all right, well, how can I actually turn this into something sustainable? And you find out even with big streamers, it's like they burn out because they can make it, but is making it actually sustainable over the long term. And they're like, you know, 5 years in, like, this is destroying my life. Can I actually have a family? Can I hang out with my kids or my spouse? Can I hang out with my friends, the rest of my family and stuff? And so, yeah, it's, in terms of your specific question on the coverage angle, I think that is where our audience is. Like, when we talk about, is Summer Game Fest, Xbox Showcase, is that a huge traffic driver? For Kotaku, it's not necessarily a big driver. Like, I would say the biggest story of this week is this stuff with...
in the head.
Well, all right. Inside baseball. So streamers are questioning whether or not they have dents in their heads because of headsets that are too heavy. And
that thing was on the top of our charts.
But you also have, like, Nick Merckx.
So check it.
I'm checking. Jen's checking.
You have big content creators like Nick Merckx, Tin the Tatman. I'm butchering the name. It's late. I'm sorry. But you know, big personalities right now wanting their skins pulled from Call of Duty or not because of issues they have with the gay and transgender community and rights and stuff. And it's like that is actually like that's what is blowing up with our audience. That's the stuff, because there's like two parts of gaming. There's the part where if you tune into the Giant Bomb couch and you want to know what's happening at Summer Game Fest, like you are very cued in a certain way. And then there's the whole other set, which is like I buy 1 or 2 games a year. Maybe I play FIFA all the time. I don't read about FIFA. I go to my favorite. I have 1 or 2 favorite content creators or streamers. Every day,
and the algorithm serves them.
Yeah, they tell me what the card odds are, what the trades we're doing are, whatever EA messed up in the build, and so, and that's many more times the audience size. Yeah. And so I think it's really about figuring out what are the things you're interested in covering, and what is the audience for that stuff interested in, and then meeting them where they are, and not feeling like, well, this is what the audience should be, and this is where we should go, and that's what we should do.
So I'm definitely guilty of that exact thing.
But I think I wish we could stop highlighting the negativity a lot. Man. It's very exhausting, man.
What do you mean by that? I mean, because highlighting, I think criticism is
no, criticism is different. That's different. I'm talking about like negative. Like I'm trying to think of something that just happened recently. One of the creators that his skin got.
Right. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, like why highlight them, man? Like why? Well, let's talk about more like other things that I feel like
because it does affect an audience of LGBTQ.
Oh no, of course, yeah, no, that part, yes, so 100%, yeah, but
I mean, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's not helping the industry of just.
But here's where I'll disagree. I think that. This is why Kotaku is important, because they can talk about this.
No, of course.
And then they
different conversation.
And then we can have different. We can have the people that do want to come in and just honestly cheerlead their favorite kind of games, which I think is totally fine. They come in and do that as well, and I think that's why it goes back to the diversity thing of like diverse voices of all kinds. We're gonna get this all covered, hopefully. It's just I think that's why I was asking them like. I don't want Kotaku to stop doing what they're doing.
No,
because,
no, I'm not saying.
Of course,
that
no, I didn't say that.
I'm just. It's kind of.
I know. I think your point is well taken. That there is. There's these two types of criticism. One, there's criticism of these companies are not doing right by people. Right. You know, Jeff's show doesn't have any women. It's all these white guys. And then there's the criticism of like just being negative on a game because you're trying to score dunks or you're trying to score.
Or like the Sony conference was like boring to me, and it's like
and there's ways of drifting off that I think are like it's like there are times where you make mistakes and like, all right, is this a legitimate concern over the 30 frames per second in a Redfall or
now Starfield? That's like
right. So I think that the point is well taken. That you know when you're trying to meet the audience somewhere, it's like. What are you meeting an audience just because they'll show up, but actually they suck?
It's
and you shouldn't.
I feel like it's also kind of tough too because now I feel like gaming we have celebrities now, right? Like I don't know if we really have celebrities, but like the streamers, content creators. So obviously the audience want to hear about them, right? They're the ones that they're watching majority of the time if they're talking about gaming. So now you kind of got to cover the Nick Merckx, you know what I'm saying? You kind of got to cover the almost celebrity tabloid like stuff because that's what they want to hear. That's kind of what they're on.
And it gets hits. It gets views.
Well, I think it's also like, for me, it's like I think it's tough with this kind of stuff, especially with Kotaku readers. It's just like I get it, it's Kotaku, but there's a nuance that's missed sometimes in things. Like I will shit on Activision Blizzard for like things that I think they deserve to be shit on for. I play Overwatch every day, and I'm very open about how I play Overwatch every day. I write about Overwatch all the time. It's like my favorite game. I'm obsessed with it. And for me, I think there's like, I've always been like this, and I was like this, I think, because my parents were like my biggest fan, but my biggest critic. I think you can critique things that you care about, and you can hold, not necessarily feet to the fire, but you can have conversations about things that maybe someone doesn't want you to talk about, but not completely broad stroke, put it in the bad pile. Like, I love Overwatch. I'm going to play Overwatch. The devs that make Overwatch, they worked really hard to have like a beautiful Pride celebration in it this year, and that meant a lot to me. And I think those are the kind of things that like we're struggling to figure out, like as writers, and then seeing reader feedback and being like, I wrote about Overwatch, and they're like, well, I thought you hated Activision. I don't.
Good or bad?
Which is it? Right? Maybe you do, but it's like, so what? Like at a certain point, it's like, when I decided to play a game or not play a game, I didn't play Hogwarts Legacy. It was just because a transference, like, it would hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Like, it was that simple. It wasn't anything more than that. And I'm not asking anyone else not to play
it. And to bring it back to your point, the original question, just real quick, it's people can sniff out the authenticity immediately.
Yeah.
And so part of the embed theory is that if you want to be able to talk authoritatively on a specific game, because guess what? There's way too many games.
Yeah.
You can't come to this. I mean, I played 6 or 7 games over certain days. The Future Game Show, the PC Game Show,
Wholesome Direct,
the Wholesome Direct, the Xbox Showcase, Summer Game Fest. There are more games that were announced that I have not had a chance to even look at the trailer at now than the opposite. And so part of the thing is like you want to be an expert in Overwatch, or your game is Warzone 2, and you need to then own that with the sense of the hope is that it develops a respect for you back towards that specific game, those creators, that audience, where you're not just sort of parachuting in being like, well, this sucks, fuck this.
So since the Sony thing, we've been tracking how many trailers dropped. So this isn't announcements, it's like games that have had new information dropped about them. 380.
That's just at Sony. That's been that was the unofficial
Since
start
Sony,
of
so
this
Sony
E3.
through Wholesome Direct,
Yeah.
through Future Game Show, through PC. PC Game Show alone had 55 today.
Yeah.
55.
Holy.
Right, so like 380 games that we're tracking that are like not out yet.
I mean, you've been doing this a long time,
Yeah.
John. You did back in the day when it was all print.
Yeah.
And
Christmas was always a nightmare.
Right, yeah, that's what it was.
Well, all the game, I mean, like, what's interesting now is the shape of the year has changed, right? And part of that's COVID, but it's done as a favor because we get a little bit of a blip in Q1, and then we're getting this nice blip in June, and then, we're getting one in September, October. They're not all slammed into November the way they used to be. But I think, to your point about, like, the importance of beats and, like, and how the audience is thinking is that, so, Elden Ring was a great learning for us. We ran about 80 stories about Elden Ring after it came out last year, and they all performed twice as well as anything that we wrote before it came out. So people get in this mindset of like, this is the thing that I love right now, and they want the stories from the solo her dude, and they want to know what other people are doing in these games, and they want to find connections. And I think there's the maps and strategy guides, which is like, they're performing really well. But I think it's that shared culture that people are craving. I think you guys have been doing a great job with this, right? Where you're like, you spot these things, and we're learning that as well, because I think traditionally you think, news is, there's this cycle of events that's informed by years ago print, where it was news, previews, review, some like tips and tricks, on to the next thing, and then there's this sort of grind that goes through.
Yeah.
Whereas now people identify with a game or two, and they're not. We grew up when people were gamers, and it was all about sampling as many things as possible. Right now, people don't self-identify as a gamer; they'll self-identify as an Overwatch player, or as a a CS:GO player, So for us, the challenge has become: what can we offer them when they're so immersed in the culture of a thing? What is news to them, right? Because if we just like follow the usual playbook, their knee-jerk reaction is, I already know that.
Yeah.
The game told me.
Or TikTok told me.
Like, people are like, well, why don't you do news about Fortnite skins? And it's like, because it's right there on the screen when you boot the game up.
That is true. That is true.
All right, I think we're going to wrap this segment up, but thank you everybody so much for coming by, talk with me. I absolutely adore all of you. This was really a lot of fun for me. Thank you so much.
Jeff's got to get his injections before the next
That's right, let's get them steroids out here. Right there. Emma, right here. Put them in there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back with, I do believe this is the clown time now, everybody. Last segment coming up right now.
Clown car
See you
here
then.
pulling up.
Welcome. Oh, are we good? We're good?
All right.
Welcome to Giant Bomb, a website about video games and cum.
What?
What?
No. Oh, no. No, that's what it is about now.
No, it's
That's
not.
what we're doing.
Why
I'm
would
Jeff
you
Grubb.
say that? I missed something important.
Is that what's in this cup?
That's. I'm Jeff Grubb. We're doing one last segment. It's a whole mess over here. We're gonna get through it together. Wait, I got on this couch. Jan, if you're here, who's over there?
What?
If you're here, who's running the ship?
Oh no. The boy John Luke is.
John Luke.
Yeah, the young god. It's okay.
It does not matter.
It's okay. It's the last one. It does not matter.
You're doing quacktastic.
We got Bailey Meyers, we got Dan Reichert, we got Emma Fyffe, we got Mike Minotti, Patrick Klepek's here, everybody. Patrick, how are you doing?
What was that pausing for my name?
Oh, nothing. Nothing.
Had to think about it. Thought it forgot it for a moment.
We can't give you too much of an opening, really.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm like, once we introduce you, we've activated you, and now here we go.
Don't make me spit on Quackaga.
Yeah, fair enough. We're done. We did it pretty much.
Yay.
Patrick, how you been?
Look, bought this at Target.
I think it really gets across your mood.
I'm
swamped. Does he live in a swamp?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Do you
what is he?
Yeah, famously.
I thought I've seen your.
Oh my God,
He has layers.
I've seen the first Shrek in the theaters when it came out.
All right, can you just tell
Well,
me
you didn't.
what kind of creature you think Shrek is?
Like a weird alien,
No.
like monster thing.
No.
Then where do you think he lives?
You did not see
Apparently in a
it.
swamp. Yeah.
Really briefly, what's the movie about?
There's like a knight and a king and a lady, and I think Cameron Diaz might be an alien.
Him living in a swamp was so important to that movie.
He's getting a surprising amount right about the plot, frankly.
Thank you.
What kind of animal was Shrek's best friend?
Donkey, Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Wow, that one he
Finish the
knew.
line for me. Blank are like blank. They have layers.
I can't do that.
Okay. Said it, so, yeah.
Oil is like ducks.
All right, so we don't have any feet out tonight, right? We're not gonna.
Feet. I thought you said feet out. No, I can't move my legs.
I got a fire extinguisher on the wall in case your feet come out.
Yeah,
I can't move my legs. It's not
Should
gonna.
I
That's
take
why
my
we put him back
boots
there.
off?
I mean, if you want to do it, they didn't say you can't.
Look,
We want to get comfy back here.
Patrick, yesterday we were playing a little game like how much money does this person have in their wallet? And we were like, I don't carry any money. I'm not bad.
I think we talked about this
Yes.
recently. I'm a zero cash
Yes,
lifestyle.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, I think people were guessing about you and said you would be zero cash.
Zero cash.
Yes. Mike Minotti was carrying $520.
Okay.
Wait, are you currently carrying that?
No.
Were you going to a drug deal after this?
I was
What
very
the
afraid I was
plan?
going to get mugged today, so I put it all somewhere else
He
and
tweeted.
tweeted, by the way, I don't carry that much money on me anymore. Please don't
My
mug
shirt
me."
that says I'm not carrying off $525. There's a lot of questions about where that $525 went.
It worked.
But where did you put it?
And how much do you have on you now?
Not gonna fall for that one
Wait,
again.
should we guess how much he has on him now?
Mike, don't do it. Don't do it, Mike.
No, it's not very much.
But is it in
like
ones,
$400.
fives, tens,
It was
20s?
it was like a 20 and a 10, and then I bought something, and it's like what you guys were saying, like they gave me back more money because I have more paper now.
Right, yeah.
It's
The
annoying.
520 was like all 20.
Patrick, that's why we don't. I don't like money, and Nikki Grayson were like, you give someone money, and then they give you back more money. You have to.
The
so
wallet
annoying.
gets so big.
Yeah.
That's how you get a Costanza wallet. I swear that I started off with like $5, and then I kept spending it, and it turned into 500.
I don't think that's how that works.
I think Mike Minotti might be how it works.
Can you invest my money for me? Because it seems like it's working out for you.
Yeah, I hear crypto's big right now.
Jan, this is a Jollibee apple pie.
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're Filipino.
Yeah, that's why. That's why. No, it's cool. We fixed race relations outside. Nikki Grayson. Yep. Nikki Grayson, bless their heart. They handed me this prior to the last segment, and then I just felt full. And then I don't think race relations have been that good since Collision Course dropped.
Sure. Yeah.
With Jay-Z and Linkin Park, because
It's
you
Mike
have
Minotti's favorite.
yeah, because you have Jay-Z, you have Mike Shinoda and Chester
Wait,
Bennington.
you like Linkin Park? Do you know about Collision Course?
Is that fruit in there?
You don't have to eat it.
Okay. I like Linkin Park. Yeah. It starts with one thing. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard I try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain in due time.
Oh, I know.
Is that time is a valuable thing?
Watch it glide by as it heads swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock ticks like away.
It's so unreal. You didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Try to hold on. You didn't even know.
No.
Wasted it all just to watch you go. Okay, I'm
We're
sorry.
gonna get a DMCA takedown
When,
by Linkin Park right
when
now.
Jan was sitting
y'all.
us all down,
Good, it'll be worth
he's
it.
like, Patrick, you're sitting right next to Mike, and he immediately apologized. It was very funny.
No, Patrick loves me. He loves my name. Told Kodo he's a big fan.
Yeah, famously, yes.
That is the funniest picture.
I just want the vibes. Like I want
vibes.
my life is like pretty structured. I got kids.
Yeah.
It's boring.
I don't have those
I
things.
love my kids, and I just want.
This?
Like, I want like 500. I'm gonna
Yes.
start. Okay, wait. If I put $525 in my pocket,
Yeah.
Is shit gonna start getting real?
Yeah, it gets real weird. So people start sending you RoboCop costumes. You're like, no, please, I haven't seen RoboCop, and they don't care. Like, you have to wear this. They always bring it to Los Angeles. It just gets weirder.
Who did that?
And then you're like,
we're all looking for
and
the
then,
guy.
like, you're doing them the favor, and to get in the suit, you have to, like, take your sandals off, and then they're really upset about your feet.
I also love that you tweeted out that you were not carrying $520 on you, as if like every person considering mugging somebody is just browsing Twitter to be like, I wonder who tweeted that they're carrying cash today.
Well, scratch this guy. He's got nothing.
I think one of our Discord mods put a hit out on me, so I had to like. Thanks, Christian.
That's true. Thanks, Christian.
The same guy who gave you the wood tea.
Yeah, thanks for the yerba mate, the wood tea. Oh boy. Hey, Patrick, can you stand on Jupiter?
What?
Can you stand on the planet Jupiter?
Not the red
Like
spot.
him personally?
Anybody.
No, anyone.
No.
The royal.
Wait, you're just
him.
asking Patrick.
Oh, like is it physically possible
Yeah.
to stand on Jupiter? I mean, if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything.
no.
As that's what I tell my children every time I put them to bed.
Right, so they'll
so
stop
if she
talking.
tells
Yeah.
me I would like to stand on Jupiter, kid,
Okay.
go stand on Jupiter.
What would you tell Dan Reichert though if he said, "I want to stand on Jupiter"?
I said I want to.
So Jupiter,
I said I could.
Jupiter's a little bit like a swamp, and so it kind of depends on where you're standing. Like
I said not the
much-
red spot. Not the red spot because that's tumultuous.
The storm is what I told you.
Thank you. Yes.
Look, there is maybe a rocky core very deep inside of Jupiter that. If for some reason the heat and the gravity wouldn't kill you, you could stand
Yeah,
on.
Jupiter like
surface.
famously hot. I thought like Mercury and Venus were the main hot ones.
It's very dense, so I imagine it gets hot.
The
I don't
gravity,
really know
gravity
that.
makes like it's gonna create the friction.
It's like really far from
I'm
the
not a
sun,
science
though.
teacher.
I'm not a scientist, but it's like pretty far from the sun.
Yeah, but
It is far from the sun,
cold.
but Jupiter almost was a sun. Like, if
Yeah.
things went a little bit like better in Jupiter's way, we would have had one of those dual.
Jupiter
like,
had a hard
Now
life.
look
Sorry,
at
I'm
it.
sorry.
It's
I've been
a
there.
big gas ball hanging out in the middle of nowhere with stupid gravity.
Right. And now we have to hear about those drops of Jupiter that are in her hair.
How dare you, Mike?
What's wrong with that?
You, it seems like you don't want to hear about the drops of Jupiter.
My bad. Who sings that?
Train.
I saw them at BlizzCon once. There weren't many people watching them.
If you say that phrase 3 times into a mirror, it's like you will Train will just start performing across.
Can we get
Two more times, please, Mike.
I don't remember saying, Train, sing song, please. BlizzCon. Train, sing song, please.
No.
BlizzCon.
No.
No, that was it. I forgot the magic word.
You said I saw them at BlizzCon.
I saw them at
But I
BlizzCon.
heard I sold them at BlizzCon, and I was like,
That's how he got that 500.
They're real
That was part of the rider.
That was the same. That was like the BlizzCon where they had multiple acts. So they had that famous lady with the violin. Then they had
Lindsay Sterling?
maybe, and then they had
Isn't that her name?
they had
Yes.
Holdor from Game of Thrones like being a DJ.
Holdor?
Oh, DJ Hodor! No.
DJ Hodor is incredible.
Actually, he's like epically known as like he is DJ'd at like multiple
Yes,
San
he's
Diego
a very
Comic-Cons.
famous
He's
DJ.
And it's
actually
good. It's always good.
Just like Shaq.
Right,
and
exactly. Best
Elijah
DJ I know.
Woods.
Elijah
Wood. Yeah,
Elijah Wood T.
Elijah
And
Wood did.
Idris Elba DJ'd at Coachella this year.
He did.
So he's a
Everyone's got
star.
a hidden talent, you know, and it's always DJing.
Could we all get into DJing?
I think
I
we
played
should.
DJ Hero on like Expert.
That game was a good game.
On
Really
Expert.
good game.
Yeah, you're basically a professional DJ now.
Yeah, and that game was sick. I really wish they would bring that back.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, for
DJ
sure,
Hero was a
yeah.
great game.
I know. Yeah.
But they can't get
Just
Guitar
get really
Hero
into, like,
working.
rhythm games.
Bobby got it.
DJ
Get back
Hero.
in there. Start programming a DJ Hero 2 or
Yeah.
3 or whatever it is.
We get Phil Spencer back.
Yeah, well, I prefer it.
I didn't get
Not
to-
with
I didn't
us, Mike. Not with us.
I didn't get to ask about Crimson Skies. I was really concerned when he said that he like watches this. I was like, how much does he want?
Has Phil Spencer seen your feet?
Yeah,
That's a legitimate.
It seems like
That's a new
40%
question.
chance.
Right.
Instead of how much money do you have on you, do you think Phil Spencer's seen your feet?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah. Phil Spencer's
Mike's specifically, or just like anybody's.
Like
feet?
your own feet.
Yeah.
No
Phil
way.
Mike's very high on the scale right now.
I'm gonna say no on my own unless I can't believe I'm about to say this about Phil Spencer unless he's like just casually browsing Wikipedia.
Sure, right. Which you know we can't count out.
No.
Like, cannot-
He's only human.
Sometimes you're in incognito and
testing out you're just testing out the edge.
I didn't mean to end up here, but like here I am.
when they invented incognito mode.
Why are you looking at me?
I said the word edge browser, and then you started.
Oh, that's funny because
I'm just clearing my mouth.
Yes, because of edging, Mike. That's right.
When they invented incognito mode, was like that was for porn, right?
Yeah.
They-
Without question.
Did they try to sell it as something else? You think like
Oh yeah. Like it's the same thing with like VPNs. Like they're like
It's for security, Mike.
It feels shady to have the icon be like the hat and glasses and the trench coat. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be that shady scene.
What do you want it to just be like a boner instead? Like, oh, time to go to
like
boner
a
mode.
Ghostbusters like cross thing or
it
something.
should be a
you know?
gif of a guy unzipping.
Okay.
just do the international sign for.
Nice sweater there, Jeff. I think you said on that video you got me one for my birthday.
Yes, I did.
I had to wait for my birthday.
Yeah, I don't have it here, Mike. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I might see you before there.
That's true. No, you don't have to wait. Although I think my wife might have adopted it, so I might have to get you another one. We'll see.
I'm going
Jeff,
there.
like, to be clear, did you intentionally wear the Nintendo World sweater knowing you were going to be talking to Phil Spencer
It was a power
today?
move.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I stared him in the eye.
I wanted to be clear because I saw it on the monitor out there and I went, he did this on purpose, didn't he?
This is who I really like, Phil.
Yeah, take that,
I mean, we do
Phil.
have a Nintendo.
Get his ass.
You know, he looked at me with the camera cut away. He said, "Fuck you." So, yeah.
That sounds like
fair.
him, yeah.
That's
Seems
fair.
like something he'd say.
I get it. I don't know. This is your guys' show now. I'm just kicking back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've
Can I
earned
try
it.
the Jollibee thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
What's the gimmick here? What's the
Is
deal?
that not just
cover your ears.
A delicious
Okay,
apple pie.
wait,
The
hold on,
gimmick
hold on.
is it's a delicious apple pie.
Michael,
No.
Michael, there's one by my laptop.
Is that not just a McDonald's like apple pie?
You shut
It
the
looks
front
like
door.
it looks like onions.
Mike.
Okay.
Oh, Michael's pissed.
Hey, don't be
Mike,
don't be
there are-
racist.
Mike,
You're
there
gonna
are-
get canceled on the
Like there are
show.
Filipinos in this room. You are going to get hurt.
Well, then teach me.
Okay.
I want to learn.
This is the better one.
How's it different?
Oh, it's better. What is
It
it?
is a better one.
What's in?
It might goop all over you.
Yeah, I think Dan's about to go into incognito mode.
It does have the same
Spaghetti
exact
in the other
sleeve,
round?
though, right?
Yeah, that's going to be used in
Oh.
Photoshop. Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, it gooped. Hey, hi.
I told you.
On
Paper towel.
Emma's set.
Thanks, man.
Don't look quack, Gaga.
Oh, this is.
He went for a
vile.
second bite.
Yeah.
The crispiness of this is incredible, and the stuff in between, the goop is really good.
It's good goop.
Incredible and very good.
Get the
goop.
fuck away from me.
That's gonna go on someone's eye. Stop!
I think
Mike,
that's
get the food of my
apple.
people.
Look at his hair. Do not.
No,
I
that
don't know.
was
I
peach
was-
mango. Peach mango.
Oh, it's peach. Okay.
Will you
Sure.
That's not much better. No.
I got it.
This is really good.
I have it. I haven't gotten COVID from my kids.
Hey, yeah, you're still COVID free.
I think this is just an
time?
apple one.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I'm
this
pretty
is
sure I
coconut.
had it,
There's
but
no
like
onion?
I never
Right. No,
tested
it's
positive.
Yeah, all right. That's clear in my book. Yeah, that was weird. COVID.
COVID? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a little
Does
weird.
not
Right?
look
Yes.
like
I don't like the
Yeah.
texture.
So I couldn't
I
get
don't like
away
the texture.
Uh-huh.
when the
I don't
first
want peach in
food
it.
stuff was
Y'all can
happening.
fix race relations right now, and you're
How?
fumbling the bag.
Oh,
we
that
have to
was
do?
never.
Wow.
gonna happen.
If solving like race relations depends on me eating fruit, we're all fucked.
You would say no?
Damn.
Yeah, you like have the opportunity to literally end racism.
I wouldn't say no. It just wouldn't happen.
Nikki, I never got one. Is there any more? Here, throw me one.
Yeah.
Jeff doesn't serve one. He's been slacking all week.
Look, Mike, I can't believe all these white people fucked up race relations again. Like, this is shocking.
It's just Mitch.
Aren't I a stinker?
Okay. Okay.
You said you wanted to be on the couch. Do you regret that decision at
No,
all?
I'm eating pie.
Okay, fair enough.
Jeez.
I mean, Dan and I's lips kind of touched. Like, he ate that and
We're
then
not
it was
babies, man.
very
That's fine.
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, you.
Hey, Barley, come here.
Barley?
Oh, the dog's back.
You want Jollibee? Dog?
Oh, Barley. Fine.
Hey, Jeff, who's your favorite?
Chef Bob.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Chef Bob!
Shout out to
Chef
Chef
Bob.
Bob.
Thank you so much.
It's the best.
Hi, Chef.
What is this?
Yes, Chef.
That is whiskey and Coke.
Hell yeah, let's fucking go.
And some water.
Thank you, Chef.
It's a signature
Yes, Chef.
dish.
Go to the grass skirt in San Diego.
Oh yeah, go the grass skirt for sure. I don't know, Dan. What are we doing here?
We're wrapping it up. We're just hanging out.
We're hanging
It's
out.
a good time.
Did we do okay?
No.
I think you did great.
Thanks, man. I think
Yeah.
you did too.
Just like hanging out and talking to people. Basically.
Did you have a particularly good segment? Like, okay, all right.
Right now,
Well, that's, love to have a good quality bar.
Yeah. When we, it was good. I had a lot of fun talking to a lot of different people. It was.
Well, you think about it now, Master. What is your highlight? What do you go back to? Where does your mind go?
It was probably earlier today talking with Imran and all of them. They were just so on the ball in terms of like getting into what people actually care about beyond the video games and like the people behind it. They were really good at talking about that, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm gonna get uncharacteristically.
Uncharacteristically.
The Seximo Dynamo is speaking.
Seximo
Real
Dynamo is
here.
here.
I've known Jeff longer than anyone here, and like we both
Brag about
started like. Very bomb the industry and stuff, and we were kind of doing this thing for a while, and you'd never know if it's ever gonna break through. And you like seeing him on this couch and all that stuff, talking to all these incredible people, all these important people. Like, I'm proud of you, Jeff.
Thanks, Mike. I'm
You're great.
Proud of you too. Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, I was also thinking about the first time I met Jeff.
Yeah.
And it was at a PAX East or West.
Yeah.
And then like I'm in costume for some PAX wrestling thing or whatever. And then like Jeff Grubb in a flannel, his hair tied back, he's sitting alone by himself in the front row. He quietly approaches me. It's like, Jen, I'm a big fan of Giant Bomb. And then I was like, Jeff Grubb, like, what the fuck?
Aww.
And then like I remember who Jeff Grubb actually is. And then look at us now, dog.
Yeah, for real, you're right.
Look at us
I
now.
remember that. Yeah, that
Who
was
would have
great.
thought?
I know, not me. Definitely not.
Not me.
I did. The first time I did have a little out of body experience where it's like, how the fuck did I get here? That's really weird. Yeah.
I heard the PUBG chicken dinners in like
That's right.
2017.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was like a big like industry party thing. Like Grubb would. You were streaming it, right?
I was streaming it, yeah. And I would usually die pretty early, so I would shoutcast it too.
Yeah, you're bad at video games.
Yeah, I was bad at video
During the
games,
like
yeah.
height of PUBG, and he would just get like a who's who of the gaming industry in these PUBG games. I remember being like, God damn, how is he getting all this stuff? Like, damn near 100 people in there.
Yeah, it was like they had the custom games. You had to ask them to give you the access to the custom games, and it was like people just wanted to kind of play in a way that was like not just going into the gauntlet, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. But speaking about being bad at video games, I was playing a video game today.
Oh yeah?
Oh.
Yeah?
What was you about to say?
Are we talking about that?
I'm not sure. No, we are all looking forward to Ubisoft forward tomorrow.
Playing Grinny, I want to be the hero.
Yeah,
video game today.
we're playing a tactics game.
Sure, yeah.
What, another one? There's another one.
Oh, you're fine.
You're Madden. You played a game of Madden.
Yeah, Madden.
It's over there.
You got it.
And I'm sitting next to Patrick, and I could tell that. Well, yeah, he's pretty good at these kinds of games too. But I'm gonna
crushing it.
I mean,
like just
Patrick, I know,
fucking,
man.
just fucking bang,
but I'm
bang,
like,
bang,
I'm doing
bang.
really good. I'm gonna get there, and I'm like, oh, he got to the boss before me. I gotta hurry, and then we're right there, and of course he beats the boss first, and the guy's like, good job. You're what do you say? You're the first
person to do it after only 2 tries.
Yep.
Wow. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. You've done this long enough. You cannot tell if that is bullshit or not, because like they will tell you constantly, like, hey, you did a really good job, and I felt like I did, but also like the kinds of people showing up to appointments, like, you play video games, right? Like there's a certain I was like,
sure.
I felt I did well, but the only reason I felt good about it was because then I immediately watched you suck shit.
Yes, I had the boss down to one little sliver, and because you beat it before me, I was like, well, I gotta get it right now, and I just went in.
And I got to stand up, I'm watching, and I was like, good luck on try 3, Jeff.
Yes, and then you just like, ha ha ha, and walked away, and I'm like, God.
But the funniest part about that story is then, now I don't interpret this, like, all the developers were maybe didn't like natively speak, English, and it was like, they came up afterwards, like, while I was like giving Jeff shit about it, and they were like, what publication, do you work for? And I was like, oh, Remap, and I was like, Jeff, I think they're bragging about me.
I impressed them so much, they want to know where I'm from.
They need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we went to another thing, and on the way out, they like stopped me, and they're like, and I'm like, why are they stopping me? Did someone want to say hi to me? I was like, I was getting big for my britches. You want to know what they thought? I was taking pictures of the demo. They're like, you better delete those. And I was just sitting there like, I was bored and looking through Twitter. Like, they thought I was taking pictures. So.
That was Dean Takahashi. Took a picture of the embargo.
Pictures.
They're actually going to open Ubisoft Forward tomorrow, talking about how good Patrick was.
I appreciate that.
I hope card tactics.
I'm hoping they're going to put me, hypothetically, if we were at a Ubisoft thing, like they would, remember.
Wow, Patrick, you think you're pretty hot shit, huh?
Yeah, I do actually.
He's on your side. What are you attacking?
I wasn't disagreeing. I was just saying he thinks it's pretty hot
But you
shit.
can't put the sarcasm on it when you
What
say that.
sarcasm?
Next year, the main decor actually, like in the hall where you got to play the game, a statue. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's absolutely right.
I'd buy
We
that.
had like an Ifrit statue at the
the
Patrick, you can just reuse that one. Basically, effort over.
I heard that party was sick. I was busy all the time.
Dude, they had Final there. They had Fantasy there.
Did they have Kenny Omega?
They did have Kenny Omega.
Did you kiss him?
I had a very awkward, like, nervous fan interaction. Was like, oh, Kenny, I know that.
You beat me in Street Fighter once.
Are you friends with CM Punk or is it a
Oh, yeah, I should have brought up CM Punk.
Yeah.
It was like the guys who made the Ifrit statue were like, "Oh, you can take it if you can take it, you can have it. It's 5,000 pounds and bolted to the floor." And Emma and I are like, "We can figure it out."
Yeah, that's just a
Oh,
challenge.
if any two people can.
Right, in the city of LA, you're gonna make it happen.
And they gave us little pins.
Yeah, we got Torgal pins.
Torgal, the little dog.
The little puppy.
It's not a dog. We were told it was a wolf, but
It's
a dog.
Dogs are wolves.
Dogs and wolves.
They descended from them.
Yeah.
I think a dog could
You
have
know
an,
that?
could have an
I have
inner
dogs.
one.
Yeah.
is
You have a
descended from
dog.
Yeah, I know.
All
See,
dogs are
you also
descended
have
from wolves.
eggs in your house, maybe. You don't know about them.
I don't know if I do.
Yeah, your wife
If you have eggs in
Your
your
wife
house,
bakes.
She likes eggs a lot. I don't.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever seen an egg in my house. No.
All right. We don't have much time left, but I do need Patrick to determine who's weirder, Mike or Dan. So I need help. What?
Well, hang on. This
what-
is weird because he's known me for like fucking 10, 15 years.
Too long.
Well, no, that's on your
You're
side,
so
though.
fresh. You're so fresh. Like every time I hear a story, it's like,
Yeah.
That's like me with my dad's foot.
That's the story I told him today.
The foot dust.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
then
foot
later, I spared him and was like, "Oh, I heard something about the foot," and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, like it wasn't a thing." And
That
I was
was
like,
AIR.
and I knew, I already knew the answer.
No, Patrick, believe me. Believe my lies.
All right. So what piece of evidence, Dan? What would you say is weird about Mike that you would want to present to Patrick?
Jeez, I don't even know where to start. I've known this guy for like less than a year, and I feel like it's a mountain of things. Jeez, help me out here.
I can't even think of one. There's so many. I'm so normal.
What's the money thing's weird, but that's not even top like 30.
Well, the fruit thing is the one that everyone goes to.
The fruit thing, but I don't want to give him too much shit. It's
apple
like a real
thing,
like
right?
phobia
The
thing. I don't want to
apple
give him too much shit.
thing.
But there's
Right.
enough to give him shit for outside of that.
Oh, can I interrupt you real quick? Please. Someone asked if the apple thing is related because
To
of
Snow
sleeping.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone comes. That makes sense. Like, I don't know, maybe. Like, again, I don't remember like an impetus. Maybe I saw like Snow White as a kid, but I don't know. I guess I was pretty impressionable. I guess it might have happened.
Here's a tiny one, is the one from last night where, he's got his things with fruit and he won't eat them, and somebody told him like, oh, well, Disney Dole Whip is
Disney fruit.
Fruit.
So,
and he goes, no, it's Disney fruit.
Okay, here's what I really mean.
So Disney fruit is fine.
Here's what I really a big thing with fruit.
And I haven't anywhere to go, but I'm just gonna move around a couple times in my
I get
seat
it.
to express my discomfort.
Like a big thing with fruit is texture, right? Like
That makes sense.
Like if you told me I had to drink some apple juice, like I would like not like that, but I wouldn't like. I would do it. It's fine.
Okay.
There's something about that weird.
It's the bite.
I don't like that it's somehow wet and yet crunchy. That's messed up. That's not how food should be.
Well, it definitely should be.
No, bad.
A lot of-
Okay,
I don't
Mike-
like that freshness. That's gross.
Mike, you and
Yeah,
I.
freshness is gross.
You
sure.
and I ate poutine together, and that is also wet and crunchy.
Yeah, to be clear, that was a mistake. I should not have eaten that. It was not crunchy. The poutine, the fries are definitely soggy.
All right, so then, Mike, what's weird about Dan?
Well, he thinks he could stand on Jupiter. He tried
No,
to
I'm
cook
saying we
egg
can't
whites
prove
that
anything.
one time.
We can't prove anything. And that was 20 years ago.
That
so-
was 20 years.
I don't think currently there's anything
Yeah,
weird.
you've matured a lot since then, Dan. I'm gonna go with the egg whites thing as Exhibit A, I think. Oh no! Come on! When he tried to like use a taser as an alarm to wake
Again,
himself up.
20
for a
years
while.
ago, 20 years ago.
I have not done
Hey, you
anything.
got pop from Chef Bob.
I have not done anything remotely as
you
weird
don't
as
know
I'm
this.
gonna try to
I
tase
don't know
myself
this.
this
I'm a
morning.
new friend.
I'm bringing up current things about you. You're talking
used
20
to
years
use
ago
a
with
taser
me.
to
Give me
wake
some,
yourself up.
what's weird
That's
currently?
not
What's pretty current?
Good idea.
The Mars the Jupiter thing was yesterday.
Do you know the egg white thing?
I don't. I'm a new friend. I'm
Oh, yeah,
not on the up and up with Dan lore. All I know is what I sit here on this couch and learn in real time.
Yeah, he's like, like some people like, I get up, I'm so sleepy. Coffee, maybe cold shower. Dan's like, well, what if I got a taser and like just tase myself a little bit to really get me jolted up?
A micro.
In college,
A little bit of juice.
There was
I
like
was
a
gonna
month
say-
where I would tase myself to wake up.
A
How
month?
many times?
Okay.
20 years ago. Yeah.
All right.
How many times did you do this?
Daily for a month or
Yeah,
so.
so 30-ish days.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get?
Okay.
Did
What
you get
inspired you to
glass?
stop?
Because it was not pleasant.
Yeah.
I stopped.
Okay. I'll figure that out after.
Yeah, I was like, well, I gave it a shot. I gave it a college try.
I am going to give you some grace for that because, like...
Because it's not pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in college,
Yeah,
like,
you try
Okay,
things. yeah.
recently he had to like get rid of old computer parts on an old phone instead of like disposing it
Okay,
normally.
okay,
He
let's-
got a axe and axed it like a madman, like a Mickey Mouse cartoon, even though he doesn't know who that is until recently. And then you got glass in his eyes, complaining all day about how
Yeah.
itchy his eyes
We were very concerned.
You wear glasses. Those are like that's a
He wasn't
shield.
wearing them.
Why weren't you wearing
I am
No,
nowhere.
I was.
I'm nowhere
I was,
near
I
as
think.
weird as this man. I just have a phobia for fruit, and I know it's weird. I'll admit it's weird. Do you think he admits anything he does is weird?
No, I will.
Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. I have a question.
Yeah.
Look inside yourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think is your weirdest quality?
The porn.
Wait. I don't know.
No, he doesn't.
Elaborate.
It's a joke, Dan. That's a joke.
I told everybody what the show was going to be about. Oh my god.
What is okay? Maybe if you can't be that self.
I'm sorry, John Luke.
We got to move off that.
I'm sorry, John Luke.
If you can't be that self-reflective.
Oh, yeah, so many things. When, like Facebook workers get traumatized by the things they have to watch. Sorry, Jean-Luc. Seriously, you got some days off.
Is there something that other people respond to?
My
the
shoulders
most?
are pretty hairy. Is that weird?
Patrick, your face is incredible.
Okay. I have questions. I know, but I still have questions. I still have questions.
Careful, I'm also really sweaty. I don't want to get too close.
Right there.
Very hard.
Ground zero.
Ground zero. These are some hairy.
I get puked on and shit on by my kids.
Okay, what do
Nothing
you
that you
wanna
have
look
is
at?
going to scare me. No. I'm examining the whole object.
Okay.
So, have you ever shaved it?
My shoulders,
Fully.
No, not fully. I shaved my back. I had to get my one friend. Like, I felt so bad for her to shave my back one time.
I grew up wanting to be on this couch, and this is what I get.
For me. We're very close. Yeah, but it's awful. Like you do that.
What was it like when it came back? Was it just like a bunch of tiny little cuts?
No.
Like, like it's like razor sharp and
No, it's the worst. It was so itchy. I'll never do it again. It's like, it sucks, like, looking like, the fucking missing link, but it's like, you shave that, and one, it feels really weird because you're used to hair back there, so everything's like sticking to my back because it's just pure skin. I don't know how you people live like that. And then, but then it goes back.
We're the weird ones.
Right, you are the weird ones. Then it comes back and it's so itchy. It's like a million little needles poking through your skin.
Okay,
like,
can you take him to get waxed?
Yes.
It's just
and get a
a
camera.
virgin.
I need a camera.
I kind of wanted to do that, but like in fucking Poland, Ohio, I can't like what am I like just gonna walk into like a bar like, do you wax strangers?
We're in Los
Wax?
Angeles.
Yeah, we're in LA.
I'm not doing it on here. After this week, you know how tired I am? You know the last thing I want to do?
By the way, did you just reference the movie Missing Link from Leica that I'm pretty sure
No,
nobody saw?
I'm talking about the actual missing link.
The evolutionary missing link between animal and man.
I didn't see that one. Leica does good shit though. Yeah. I like that. What's the one with the it's more of a samurai thing?
Kubo.
Oh, Kubo and the two strings.
Kubo rules. You ever see Kubo, Patrick?
I saw a trailer.
Yeah, I saw it. I intended
The whole movie's like that, but like much longer.
I bet it's good. I like Caroline, right? The
Caroline
same
was
studio. Coraline, yeah, great movie. Very
Sweet Coraline. Ba, ba, ba. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Sweet Caroline.
Hey, Ship, can you yell out there to get some friends in here? Say, tell Nikki to start bringing some friends in.
Yeah.
Start bringing some friends in. Yeah, say, Nikki's the one with the dog.
We need to show him my shoulder hair.
Mike, do you think you could?
I don't think Patrick came to a conclusion.
Well, we didn't get to you.
No,
what is
it's all
No. What's the thing that people respond to the most?
That fucking old the egg whites thing. It's all stuff from 20 years ago. The tasing the egg whites.
You're the old boring shit.
Exactly.
That's why, because
this
you're
is
used to it,
brand
Miss
new.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, because this is our judge and jury. This is how it works.
Chat is with me, and I know this. Run the
so
poll
much-
right
you're
now. They
so
probably
much more-
already ran a poll because they're so on top of it. You're so beautiful, Chat.
Much like
Thank you.
Shrek, you are an onion, and I am ready to peel you.
I heard there was a sacred chord that Shrek would play, and it also pleased Shrek.
All right, did you look inside yourself?
I'm very comfortable with my whole situation. Yes.
I'm more comfortable than you are with my situation.
Really?
Yeah, it's a competition. I'm winning.
All right, Patrick, what's your verdict?
Now the problem is Dan is right. That I've just known him for too long.
Yeah.
It's all kind of settled in. It's normal.
You know what? You're
and
right.
I'm
You're
just
settled lodge.
I'm just so excited. The future is bright.
You're right.
The
Jeff,
future is bright.
you know me, Dan, pretty well. Who do you think's weirder?
You're right. Give me a second.
It's like the Hogan Rock and I'm passing the torch. Well, I don't want to be Hogan.
yeah,
I'm Rock.
Go bankrupt some media companies.
Oh, there we go. We can do that. All right. Yes, I'm Rock.
Don't give him Cena.
Patrick, when he said he was Hogan, did you get frightened there for a second again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Maybe it's Hogan.
I'm Rock,
okay,
you're Cena.
Here's the thing. Mike is weirder, but he is better about recognizing it than Dan is.
I think that's right. So I think what is actually like more appealing about your pitch on being a weirdo is that like you say it and you go like there's a shame with it. Whereas Dan's like, no, like it's totally normal to take your clothes off and like climb up on a wall. Like, I mean, who wouldn't do that? And like where he'd be like, I can't believe I took my clothes off and climbed up the wall. I'm so sorry.
It was a poor judgment call. I really blew it. I'm sorry, you know me.
And here's the thing about Mike. You could be weird. Who gives a shit? He always tries to be better. I mean, not like about this shit. He's gonna be weird forever.
Yeah.
But about stuff that's like hard to be better about. He's always trying to be better. So like he deserves.
I'm really playing those racist years behind me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, racist minutes. Yeah.
Look, the '90s were a little weird.
They were a little rough. I said some things I regret.
And if you'd only eaten a Jollibee fruit pie, we could have
Yeah.
ended racism right here.
Could have done it.
Not gonna happen.
All right. We are starting to wrap up. There is one thing, though, that I wanted to bring attention to. It's been a fun week. We've done a lot of work here. It's been really good. But we want to make an announcement here from Giant Bomb before we're done.
Well, it's time for me to announce that I'm quitting Giant Bomb and I'm starting Remap, dude. Remap I need insurance. Does anyone ever get tax attorney?
Jeff, you scared the shit out of me.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I want to give a bunch of thanks. Thanks to Jan and Dan, Emma and Bailey. Seriously, could not have done any of this without them. There's so much that happened behind the scenes. You did not see. Cam and Lucy, so much help.
He scared him. He's so scared something happened.
We worked Tam.
Yeah, we worked
You know how hard that is?
Worked him into a
Come on,
suit.
come on.
Thank you to Mike Minotti for coming by. Thank you so much.
Love you, Jay.
Love you too, buddy. We got all these people hanging out as well all week. It's been so much fun. Come on, guys. Come on.
Come on in.
We got the boom mic on. It's been a party here out there. You guys might have seen it.
Close your legs, Jeff.
This is just not happening. I'm splaying. I'm letting it all hang out.
Jake.
Hey,
John Luke, come on.
Jeff, can I say one thing watching all these people?
Yeah, sure.
I was a part of a
Hey, I'm walking here.
All right, Patrick, what's up?
I was part of a previous incarnation of all of this, and I just want to say how proud I am to see all this live on. The chair that you're in, that is a lot to live up to.
Thanks, man.
That's Jeff Gerstmann, that's Ryan Davis. Those are the
Yes.
greatest people to ever do it. And it makes me so incredibly proud to watch all of this live on in a different way. And I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be prouder. And thanks for letting me to come through. But I just wanted to recognize for like all this is, it is amazing that you've continued it. And it just could not make me happy.
Let's hear it for Grub.
I want to say thank you to Ryan and Jeff for starting this. Thank you to everybody who's here. There's a saying in my house, grubs run hot. That means I sweat. That means I'm quick to cry sometimes. I just want to say thank you all for being here. I love you all. We're going to do this again.
Oh, yeah.
Let's run it
We're
back,
gonna make
baby.
it happen again. Thanks again. One more time, everybody. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wave goodbyes. Is there a song we should be singing?
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from?
I've been married long ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
There's lyrics?
Hold up, Sean Luke. Let's get the
My song might be a little racist.
I warned you.
Don't shut it down until
Love you, John Luke.
All right.